Yes, yes, yo, to the beat, yo. Mystery is on the mic, kick it sweet, yo. I represent on the street, yo. The way we do, we represent with the Crosswords crew. Sorry to all of you that been waiting since 9 o'clock in the morning, yo. I'm still here yawning this early morning in Sydney at the moment. Freestyle with the words, they're not quoted. Straight off the top of the dome, microphone in my hand. Kicking it like Claude Van Damme, but no tights, like in the movie Breaking'. There's be things I be taking, but not meaning I vic it. Represent on the mic, I don't stick it up like a gangster. Represent with the rankster. Rest in peace, my brother. Yes, yes. Yeah, got a request from Gosh, aka The Rock Johnson, for a freestyle about bad breath. I cannot actually freestyle about bad breath, but I can do you one better. I can freestyle with bad breath. So, yeah, if you can see the screen later on, you'll notice that there's no one around me, the perimeter, because I've been having garlic sauce from Aljana, Middle Eastern food, yesterday. Can hardly hear Mars. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Can we get the mics up in the stream? Sorry guys, you can't
Yo.
see me. We're just working that stuff out now. There we go.
Yo.
Thank you for letting us know on the live stream. Let us know if you can hear the beats well. Let us know if you can hear the mics.
Yeah.
That there is Jabs.
Oaks is super quiet.
Oaks' mic is on, yes. We have Jay.
But you were super quiet. That's probably for the best.
Yo, we keep it
Can you
sleep.
hear this mic? This mic is the Jabs mic. Can you hear this mic?
Simeon said I'm super quiet, but I'm just a gentle soul, man. Just a gentle soul.
The gentlest of souls.
Kind of feminine,
But
actually.
you step on his pumas,
Yeah.
and you'll see what sort of soul comes out of there. You know what I mean?
That is correct.
That also, soul reference to your shoes as well. That's
I wasn't listening to anything you said, man, so I cannot repeat it. And whatever you said is probably gibberish anyway, man. So,
Yep.
No,
Jabs mic is clear, so that's all we really need, isn't it?
once again, apologies for the technical issues. As you can tell, this is new technology, which we are sort of fine-tuning. And, yes. But when it kicks in,
So
it shall be
if we
wunderbar.
Dave, at some point,
For
if
our
we can just
German
get
friends.
the blue mic up to the yellow mic's level in the stream. So apparently I'm quite clear. Oaks is not.
Yo, I keep it sweet like lint. Yo, I keep it fresh like mint to my main man Gosh chillin' in
Props
the
to Disciple.
ACT. Yo, He's a
Queensland
crazy B.
Anglicans in the house.
B-boy, that was an abbreviation. I represent for the Christian nation, not the Zulu nation. No, a lot of my friends are actually Zulu. Represented with the
Hey, we
doo-doo.
just got compared to Stretch and Babito.
I sounded like, what's his name?
I hope in a good way.
Doo-doo? What's his name? Always says doo-doo in his rhymes. From Ultramagnetic MCs. Sorry. It's a nice way of saying skubala in the biblical Greek. Koine Greek, yeah. Biblical Hebrew has parallels with Hebrew, huh?
Only one way to find out.
All right, me and Jabs, we're gonna kick it. Yo. I got my main man Jabs, called the Jabberwocky. He likes to mumble rap like his name was Rocky. You didn't see that coming like Apollo Creed. I represent in the scene and I bring it with speed. Off the top of the dome, mystery on the microphone. I said before, it's in my chromosomes when I'm flowing, yo. Off the top of the cap when I bust the rap. My name is Matt. I painted it flat black in the fat cap with my spray cans in my backpack. After this, I'm gonna bust the rap. Actually, at the moment, I'm doing it, so that was hypocritical. Yo, I bring it with the lyrical.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me now? Let me know in the chat. This is Oaks on the mic. My mic was
Oaks just bum rushes my dope freestyle.
Can we also make sure the black mic that Matt's on is up there too?
Yo. What up? Oaks on the mic. Can you hear me now? Let us know in the chat if you can hear me now. Welcome everyone. UPROCK 2020. Gosh, when do I get a t-shirt? When you come to Sydney and pick it up.
Oh! If you smell what Oaks is cooking.
Yo. Better Oaks says Siv. Siv, what up, brother? Thank you for hanging on. I know you've been on for almost an hour already. We apologize profusely for any delays. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. UPROCK 2020. We do have a small group of people here at headquarters in Sydney where we usually do UPROCK. If you've been here before, you'll know this is a special part of the year for the whole Crosswords family around the world. So we thank you for rocking with us. If you know people you've invited on, and then just let's see how many people we can get on the stream. Oh, Azzy Aslan. Where's Aslan? That's a question we've been asking since 2015. We got 28 people on the live stream at the moment, but we are so grateful that this year's digital UPROCK has enabled more people to register than ever before.
Sydney, Australia, Crosswords. This is Sivion, coming live and direct from Louisville, Texas. This is my casa. I'm just chilling out this morning, just trying to, think of how thankful I am that I even know you guys, man. Y'all been doing this thing for 10 years. What a ministry. What a patient, kind, loving ministry you guys have over there. You guys brought me out there in, 2016 or so. Such a blessing to hang out with you, get to know you guys, fellowship, and just learn about God in the way that you guys see him and the way he's revealed himself to you guys. So super excited about this 10-year anniversary. And without any further ado, Ladies and gentlemen, you're invited to listen in to a friend, Direct X, the middleman. Y'all need to calm down quick like Ritalin, cause y'all get disciplined quick like little kids. On the bottom, spit raps when I got 'em. Like Simon says, y'all can call me God, but I'm not him. But I can point you in this general direction. I know the crosswords that make the intersection. UPROCK, Christian Hip Hop Summit 2020. Let's go.
Yeah.
My man.
What up, everybody? UPROCK 2020.
I just got
Yeah.
goosebumps from that. I was expecting some saxophone from Siv, but I'm not disappointed.
Yeah. It's
Much
great.
love to Siv.
It's great to have you here, UPROCK 2020. If you're on the live stream, we wanna give mad blessings out to you. My name is Oaks. This is Jabs.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a lot of the hosting today, but we got a group of people down here in Sydney at the hub at the Sydney HQ.
Make some noise, Sydney.
Sydney. We're going to do a little tour around the building a bit later on today, but for now, we're going to kick off with a praise track. This one's called Represent. You may have heard it before. So if we got the words up or not, it's really quite simple. Hopefully you can follow along. Yeah, come on.
And you guys follow along too. We need you. We need you.
Yeah, come on. Let's get them warmed up, Jabs. Come on, let's do that.
All right. Let's get it warmed up a little. So when I say up, you'll say rock. Up. Up.
Rock.
When I say 10, you'll say years. We say 10. 10. When I say up, you'll say rock. I say up. Up. When I say 10, you'll say years. We say 10.
Yeah.
I represent truth, I represent freedom, I represent the one God sent cause we need him. I represent life, I represent love, I represent the one God sent from above. I represent truth, I represent freedom, I represent the one that God sent cause we need him. I represent life, I represent love, I represent
Let's
the
do that
one
again
God
so you
sent
get the
from
hang.
above. I represent truth, I represent freedom, I represent the one God sent cause we need him. I represent life, I represent love, I represent the one that God sent from above. I represent truth, I represent freedom, I represent the one that God sent
Cause we need him.
represent life, I represent love.
Love. I represent the one God sent from above.
Don't tell me I rhyme nice, tell me I represent Christ. Cause without him by my side, I won't ever be right. The way he shaped my life to fathom it, some are blind. Can't handle to understand it, but seek it and they will find. Sin has got him in the bind. Come find peace in your mind if you don't have it in your heart. Don't leave it behind, you'll never regret the seeking of the wisdom he brings. And that's why I represent him, so together we sing and
I
represent truth, represent
freedom. I represent the one God sent cause we need him. I represent life. I represent love.
I represent the one God sent from above. I represent truth,
I
represent
freedom. I
represent the one God sent cause we need him. Represent life, represent love.
Come on.
Represent the one God
Hey.
sent from above.
Represent like a logo for the loggers, but it's more than a product, more than some rules or a code of conduct.
It's
life and truth and the way to be walking. That's why we give him more praise when we're talking. That's why we gather as a crazy assortment of cats who believe he's amazingly awesome. State the importance of worshiping his majesty. Happily keep rapping these facts, forget the fallacies.
I represent truth, represent freedom. I represent the one God sent cause we need him. I represent life, I represent love. We represent the one that God sent from above. We represent truth, we represent freedom. I represent the one God sent cause we need him. Represent life, I represent love. I represent the one God sent from above. Say
Yeah.
represent,
Represent,
we say represent.
represent,
We say crosswords, we
crosswords,
say crosswords.
crosswords.
So when I say UPROCK, you'll say yeah, we say UPROCK.
Yeah,
UPROCK,
yeah,
UPROCK,
yeah,
UPROCK,
yeah,
UPROCK,
yeah.
UPROCK.
He's just gonna keep going all day, this fella.
I can't keep going all day, guys. Let's take a break. How about we get our man Mystery up here to represent? He's been representing since the beginning of time.
I represent truth and I represent freedom, funnily enough. And
You
I
do?
represent the one God said because we need him.
How appropriate.
Nice segue, nice segue.
Make some noise for Mystery, guys.
How y'all doing? Welcome to UPROCK 2020. As you know, there have been a few things that have changed in the format and stuff like that. Now, I know that there's some new people that have never been to an UPROCK before. Hey, props to all of our UPROCK alumni that are out there. We got Siv, we got Aslan, all the crew overseas, Youngdo. But also, if you've never been to UPROCK, we'll just provide a little bit of context so you know what you're in for. So a few years ago, 14 years ago, I think roughly, this thing started called Crosswords, and it was based in Sydney. But after that, other branches started, and we thought, you know what, let's have a get-together, and just so people can meet each other and build this community, start to collab and different things like that. And part of that also involved bringing international artists over, because one of the things that we believe and one of the sayings at Crosswords is skills is currency. And so there's the proverb which says, you know, that your gifts make a way for you. And with hip-hop, it's one of those things. If you're dope, people that are involved in hip-hop culture will listen to what you've got to say. And so, you know, we want to develop the skills, not for our own glory, but for God's glory, and use the gifts that God has given us and develop them. And so UPROCK is really about developing skills. There's a lot of ministry conferences and stuff like that happen, and I would say that is still a part of UPROCK. It happens just by the nature of all believers working through and building with each other, but it's also about, you know, encouraging each other in our faith and to grow and to have victory in our lives. And so we get together every year. Obviously, things have had to change now because of the COVID restrictions, but it has been a blessing in disguise. Normally, we have a whole bunch of different people that are coming into the country. I think we had maybe about 12, I think, from different countries.
Yeah, 2017, we probably had the most international guests. It was about,
Yeah. But I
I
think this year, people that have logged in, I think we have 18 countries represented. We've got a graffiti video which we're going to be releasing at the concert later this afternoon or tonight for you guys. And I think that has about 12 countries. It has 52 graffiti writers from around the world, many that we don't even know personally. So that's great. It's building this community. But one of the things that we've always liked to do is pray. It's sort of pivotal to being a Christian. And the first ever UPROCK, I did a traditional Hebrew prayer. Hip hop is one of those things where it embraces your culture and it can develop it and it can reinvent it. And so I did a Hebrew prayer. I'm going to pray the Hebrew prayer. It's called the Bakat Kohanim. It's in the Bible. It's in the Book of Numbers. And just started off with that. So Lord God, first of all, we just thank you for your grace. Lord, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for this community. We thank you for the gifts that you've given us. And Lord, we just come before you, Lord, and we just lay our lives down before you, first of all. Lord, we just pray that you'll use this time, Lord, so that we can know you more, so that we can build as the body of Christ, but also that we can just develop in our faith and also in our craft. Yivreka kadonai v'yishmerecha yadonai panavalecha vechonecha yisananai panavalecha v'yasim lecha shalom. May the Lord bless and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you. May he go with you, and may he give you peace and wholeness and make you complete in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ our Lord.
Yes.
That's it.
Amen.
Amen. Well said, Matthew. Well said. We're about to do one more praise track, and then we're going to get into our first workshop, and we've got special guests ready, lined up, all the way from New York, who are ready to jump on in a minute.
Yeah.
But first,
can I join you in some rap singing?
You can join us.
We'd have it no other way.
We're hoping the words are up there, but again, apologies if we've had a few technical difficulties, but this one's called Purchase. Do you want to run people through the words there, Jabs, just in case?
That's right. This song is called Purchased because we have been purchased by Jesus' blood. We were nothing, and now we're something, and now we're here doing UPROCK for the 10th year.
Yeah. And we have a saying at Crosswords too that hip hop is not a spectator sport.
That's right.
So we're not dancing for y'all and singing for y'all. It's community, and so
Absolutely.
we encourage you. Even if you're in your house, you can make your neighbors annoyed by busting out.
True.
I feel like busting loose.
Anoint the neighbors. And we're going to do it.
With your
Purchased.
Anoint your family with your salivary glands.
Yo.
Matthew doesn't always speak on behalf of everyone. But he does his thing.
COVID safe. We're all COVID safe.
This track's called Purchased. Follow along. It's a banger, isn't it? Really. Can we get it up?
Yep.
All right. Oh, yeah, this is the quiet bit.
It's the intro.
3. purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm
Worth it.
So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. Now let's begin cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm worth it. So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. So let's begin cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm worth it. So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. Now let's begin cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm worth it. So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. So let's begin.
No matter how I'm feeling, whatever comes along, I give it up to God cause he's the reason for the song, the reason for my being, the reason for the race, the reason I was born to walk within this time and place. His saving grace has made me what I am today. So I praise his name and pray that I can help to show the way and shine the light. I give my life, I die that he may be a living testimony flowing through the best of me.
Cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm worth it. So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. Now let's begin cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price
Cause I'm worth it.
So I dedicate my life to his service,
Turning away
From sin,
repurpose for him.
now let's begin.
Come on.
You can't buy me, bro, I'm already bought by my Lord. When I shoved him away, he fought. He sought for my life when I turned him away. Taught me to love in the realest way. Spared a thought for a sinner, treated me like a winner. I tried to do a runner when he
Shouted me dinner.
But he kept hold on me, so for him, I'm his lift by his grace. What a gift that he paid for.
Come on, cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm worth it. So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. Now let's begin cause I'm purchased and my Lord paid the price cause I'm worth it. So I dedicate my life to his service, turning away from sin, repurpose for him. Now let's begin
Cause I'm purchased,
Yeah, cause I'm
worth it.
huh? Yeah, cause I
Service, turning
Tell me again.
away from
Tell me,
sin,
tell me.
repurpose for him.
Now let's
What?
begin.
Cause I'm
purchased and my Lord paid the price
Cause I'm worth it.
So I dedicate my life
To his service,
turning away from sin, repurpose for him.
now let's begin.
It's our purchase. We don't need to keep going.
Thank you.
That's what's called winging it. We've
Hey.
been developing winging it for years.
Let me just have a bit of a disclaimer before we go any further. For anyone not joining from Australia, we can be clowns sometimes, so don't take us too seriously.
Yes.
We still love you.
But it's full of depth theologically. All right, so our first guests that we've got that are going to be contributing, just to give a little bit of context. So we are actually in a church building called the Embassy, where myself and Oaks are pastors. But also that church was planted by my little baby brother by the name of Ev the Rev, aka Word, and he now lives in New York, in Queens to be exact, and he's pastoring a church called The Bridge in Queens. But also one of our close homies, Brother E from the Elements Church. We met him at Flavor Fest many years ago, and we've become family ever since. And this is what it's all about in this community of faith. And so we're going to hand over to Brother E from the Boogie Down Bronx, and also to my brother Ev the Rev from Queens, New York.
Hey, hey, can you hear us?
What's good?
Yo, yo. I feel weird sitting in COVID Central, communicating with downtown Southern Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere and all over the place at the same time, but it's good to catch up with you guys. I don't know if
What's
I'm just
good,
talking to myself
Crossroads?
here or...
What's up, UPROCK? Y'all hear me fine?
I can.
All right, good. That's good. What's up, man?
All right, so let's just do our thing, whether they're into it or not. We'll
How are
have
you,
fun
Ev?
anyway.
How are you, E? Evan?
Good.
Yeah, can
What's
you
up,
hear
You
us?
can hear
Marcelo?
us?
What's up?
Yes.
Yeah, E, can you hear us? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
All right, over to you guys.
All right. So instead of just, us just doing some random thing, I thought it would be cool for me to actually interview Brother E. Brother E, I actually met him for the first time at UPROCK many, many years ago, and we ended up becoming super homies from there. And I ended up moving from Sydney to New York to be his assistant pastor, and we've since moved to Queens, but we're still hanging out and representing up here in Sunny City. And I just thought it would be cool for you, some of you guys, to hear his story. A lot of people don't know all of the ins and outs of the starting of hip hop. So I thought it'd be great for E to sort of tell us some history and background, and then something that God's put on his heart to share with you guys. So I just wanted the question: what was it like growing up East Harlem in the 70s, 80s? It was the birth of the hip hop era, man. What was that like?
Yeah, man. I'm so glad when I get to ask that question because it was really a magical time. I remember when I was at when I was at UPROCK the last time. A really young person actually said, "Was it really like that? Like people would break out with vinyl carpets and start break dancing and everything like that?" And I said, "Yeah, it really was like that." Um, one of the beauties of it is I don't think anybody knew or had an expectation that it was going to blow up. I think everybody was just naturally, organically having fun and doing their thing, and that really lends a lot to. It lends itself a lot to imagination. It lends itself to creativity, and that's why I think in the beginning, man, it was so creative. And every borough, New York City is 5 boroughs, man. And so every single borough had its own style, had its own superstars in every aspect of hip hop. And the battles were epic, man. I remember sitting. So where I lived in Manhattan, I lived in East Harlem, Spanish Harlem, just south. Like we connected to, I guess, regular Harlem, and the walk I used to do on a daily basis, there'd be like 3, 4, 5 different jams going on my walk home every night from hanging out with my girlfriend or with some friends. I wouldn't get home to 3, 4 in the morning because I'd stop at every single one. I'd see battles and stuff like that. So it was just exciting. And then every borough, claimed to start hip hop, but we already know. So it was great, man. It was almost like a party on every corner, man. It was really great to watch, to be in that atmosphere. I remember the first time I saw somebody, I saw a real b-boy because I'd seen pop locking a long time before, probably like a good tip before I saw a b-boy. I saw a guy pop locking, and I used to do a little bit, and it was fun. I was just on my block doing it. But when I saw some b-boys for the first time, it was on 109th Street and 3rd Avenue in Spanish Harlem, and I was mesmerized. I couldn't do it. I tried. It was just not in me, but I was mesmerized. And just to give you a little understanding, I wanted to do singing hip hop so bad, but I couldn't rhyme. I couldn't DJ. I couldn't do graffiti. I couldn't b-boy. So I became the guy up in front of the DJ booth. So back then, the DJ booth was a table, right? And if you touched the table, the record skipped. So I stood in front of the table, making sure nobody rocked up on the table and made a record skip. That was my job: protecting crates, protecting records, protecting equipment. Yeah, we knuckled up quite a bit back then.
So you growing up in the barrio, it's not easy. How do you go from, sort of living with your mom and that, but pretty much living in the streets to finding Jesus? What happened?
Yeah, so I mean, I come from addiction. So I didn't grow up in a born again Christian church and faith, and so I come from addiction. So for me, it was just about hanging out, partying, getting high, and it was all of that. And so then I met this girl, started a date, and she would talk about something called youth group, and she'd say, "Man, it was the greatest thing I ever. It's just so much fun, and we have a great time." But she never invited me, which I found really interesting. I don't know if she was ashamed or worried, or I don't know what it was, but she never invited me. So one day I said, "I'm going to your church," and it was Mother's Day, 1991. And I decided to visit her church on my own. I mean, she was there, obviously, but I decided to go, and it was Sunday. And what had happened before that is that I had been on a journey, and I have a journal, But I used to write a whole bunch of stuff at the time, and then I ended almost every single day during that time period. My journal is, man, Lord, I need more of you. God, I need more of you. I didn't really know what I was saying, but I knew I needed some God. I went back to my Catholic church and I joined the choir, but there was nothing. I was feeling nothing. And then I decided to go to her church, man. And I walked in mad late, and there was this crazy little preacher, a little Pentecostal guy named Willie. He was like this tall. And when I say my man used to jump on the benches from pew to pew, like as he's preaching, he was wild. And so I don't know what it was, but he mesmerized me. And then he said, the words that I remember that he said was, unburden yourself. God wants you to unburden yourself. And it felt like he was talking directly to me. And so I didn't even know what I was doing. Someone next to me tapped me on the shoulder because I was crying. She tapped me on the shoulder and said, go up, go up. I didn't know what I was doing. I just went up, and I felt like it was the right thing to do. And that was in Mother's Day 1991, and I haven't looked back since, man. It's been a blessing. I mean, without Christ, I think I'd either be dead or in jail, and who knows what else. But yeah, that's my salvation story. But I know that God had been working. Now I can look back and say God had been working in so many different ways in order to bring me to Him. But that was the final culmination of it all, and it was a beautiful experience, man. To save it. When you say you got saved, man, I got saved. I got saved, son. I got saved.
So you get saved, right? But you still live in the same neighborhood, and you still got hip hop on the inside. But in those days, the church was not really feeling hip hop. How do you go from, getting into church and serving in ministry, and then wanting to still, express yourself in the way that you're used to, and then out of that comes Rap Fest, which I don't know if everyone around the world knows, but that's probably the first, Christian hip hop event. How does that come out of that?
Yeah, man, that's a great question, bro. I mean, I did what most people at the time. I don't think it's done now because it's a whole different era, especially because back then we had cassettes, right? So I did what most of us in that era did when we come to Christ. I got rid of all my cassettes, man. I kept a few because they were classics, but I got rid of all my hip hop, all my secular music, because I was like, nah, I went to I got saved at a Spanish Pentecostal church, real strong. So, man, nobody told me to, but I felt like I needed to for me. I needed a cleansing. So I got rid of all of that stuff, and now I'm dressing. I dressed up in a suit and tie on the regular. I cut my head, and I had long hair. It was shaved in different parts, and I cut it all. Had it one length now. I cleaned up, and I cleaned up nicely. But in the midst of that, I told y'all before, I didn't rhyme. So in the midst of that, one night I'm praying, and I hear some words. So I wrote them down, and I tried to sing them, and it sounded really, really dumb. And so instead of singing it, I just put it away, left it in my night table. Then a couple of weeks later, I heard classic beat that y'all know, big beat, boom, boom, bap, ba boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, ba boom, bap. And I'm hearing that as I'm praying. I'm like, whoa, okay, what's going on? So I grabbed the paper, pulled it out, and as I'm hearing big beat in my head, I started rapping the rhyme. That was how I got my first rhyme. And then after that, God just kept giving me words and putting rhymes together. And after a few years, now I'm not after 1 year, I have probably 3 songs, and I'm really excited about it, and I feel like I should do it in church because I thought I invented Christian hip hop. That's how I felt. I'd never heard about it before. So I start going to church and telling my pastor, hey, I got this thing, and I shared with him, and he wasn't down with it. The people in the church weren't down with it, but he gave me a chance anyway. So the first time I rapped ever, Christian hip hop was I was at our church, first time ever, and I did it real jazzy. It was more like poetry. The guys from church played the music real jazzy. So I rocked like that, and that's how I got over the first time. But after that, we just did it how we did it. But there was a big outcry against it in my own church. And then youth groups started inviting me, and their churches were against that. Back then, I had mics ripped out of my hand. I had sound turned down. I had people jump up in front of me with another mic. Okay, okay, we're gonna have prayer. I had a brother who I love dearly come to my own church and say that he felt God wanted us to know that Christian hip hop was of the devil. And so I prayed for him because he's my boy. I love him. I pray for him, and I pray that God would just allow me to rap in front of him sometime. So about a year later, at this thing called Rap Fest that I'll tell you in a second, but a year later, I'm rapping, and my man Rich was there. And afterwards, he came and apologized. He apologized to my church. And he had an explanation of what was going on. It's beautiful. He's one of my, I love the dude. He might be on now watching. He's one of my favorite people. So Rap Fest came about. My pastor's son, shout out to Danny De Hoyos. My pastor's son was a musician extraordinaire. He went to high school music and art with my friend Bert. Bert and especially Bert, not so much Danny, but not actually, no, they knew each other. They didn't go to the same school, but Bert went to high school music and art at the same time as Slick Rick and a couple of other guys. So he was in hip hop. He knew them all. He was really close with a bunch of those guys, Kid Capri, the DJ, different people. So Danny tells me about Bert. They're both musicians. He says, yo, you got to go to this place called the Salem Coffee House because this guy Bert is rapping every single month. So they had one Saturday a month, and it was in New York City. It was the place to be. And it was like if you were a minister of music in New York and you didn't get to go on the Salem Coffee House stage, you ain't done it yet. And so he said, you got to go. And so I started going. Because he wanted me to connect with Bert because he was a rapper in Christ. So I was like, bet. So I go, and I go for like 4 or 5 months, and Bert doesn't rap, not even once. But finally, he does rap, and I felt like now is the time for me to go and talk to him. So I go and I talk to him. He tells me, yo, if Danny's recommending you, why don't you come next month and you rap at the coffee house? And that's how my relationship with Bert started. And then they decided one year to take the coffee house outside. They had a nice big parking lot in the Bronx that's super rare. So they had a parking lot, and they decided to take the coffee house outside, but they wanted hip hop. And so they wanted more hip hop because that's what the kids in the neighborhood, you know how it is. So they wanted that. So this is unheard of they were a Spanish Pentecostal church, unheard of. And so what Bert did is he reached out to several rappers that we knew were doing, very, what I would call really Christ-centric, because we needed it to be Christ-centric in that environment in terms of who was sponsoring, right? The church. They needed to see that it was Christ-centered. And so we invited a bunch of dudes, different people, and I was his trivia, I was the very first rapper at Rap Fest. Here's another piece of trivia. When we closed the ministry down, I was the very last rapper at Rap Fest. So Rap Fest turned into this ministry, man, for 21, 22 years, where we closed down a street in New York City in the Bronx, and we did a block party, old school, 1970s style block party. We had food, we had vendors, we had ciphers all the time going on, we had on the side. We had, at that time, for those 20 years in Christian hip hop, we had every single the hottest Christian hip hop artist of our day at that time. We had Cross Movement, who was big at the time. We had Corey Red and Precise. We had Todd Bangs. I mean, I could go on and on. The West Coast was harder to get because they were doing their own thing, and we didn't pay anybody. That was another thing about that ministry. We didn't pay them at all. They came to rock at a place in the Bronx. That's prestigious to be an MC and rhyme in the Bronx, in the streets of the Bronx, man. And through that ministry, man, we saw thousands of people come to Christ. We've affected so many lives. We had people meet and get married there. I mean, I could go on and on, but 21, 22 years we did that, and it was a beautiful experience. But it was at the time the largest Christian hip hop gathering. You hear that? The largest Christian hip hop gathering. And all it was a full day of concerts, man. We didn't do conferences. We didn't, and later on we did a concert the night before, different things. We did meals for the artists, different things like that. But it was just a gigantic block party, and we do at least 2 altar calls, one in the middle of the day and one to close out the night. And it was beautiful, man. And that was, at the time, the largest Christian hip hop gathering. of its kind. So yeah, that was Rap Fest, man, and it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. Even though the church didn't accept it so much, when they saw how many people in Christ, we were getting churches coming from left and right, all over the country. We got rappers from all over the world. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
So you go from a rapper in a group called Storytellers, you're coordinating this event, and then God calls you to plant a church called Elements. Tell us
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, first let me shout out my first crew. It's called Power and Dominion. We were in the Spanish church. We call it rajatabla. That means that you break the board of the pew you're sitting on because you're in the spirit, right? So our name was Power and Dominion, bro, and it was me and two guys, and we had different singers at different points, and none of us was a musician. None of us made beats. None of us played the instruments we play. So my drummer was my bass player was actually a drummer. Yeah, and then I can't even remember how it was, man. The drummer played a different instrument. The bass player played a different instrument, and we just rocked, man. And for the Spanish church, we were it. They accepted us. We were theirs. And I remember one year in particular, we did over 100 shows that year, and that it was like a show every 3 days. It's pretty dope. So Power and Dominion. Then I went to Storytellers, which was a mix of 6 different ministries with a super duper hot progressive jazz band led by Pastor Joe at Crossroads Tabernacle, and that was dope, man. We toured up and down the East Coast. We had like, I don't know, 7, 8 albums. So that was a beautiful experience. So out of the, hip hop, Power and Dominion, Rap Fest, Storytellers, that was the platform we launched, and it started early, man, because I remember coming to my own church, my first church, Sion Pentecostal. Shout out to them.
Pentecostal.
Going to that church
Very
and
Spanish.
sometimes not feeling wanted or accepted because I was really, street and hip hop. Then I remember going to a concert at Crossroads, and what Storytellers came out of. But I remember sitting there, and I had like 60 kids with me, and we had all kinds in our group, so we had like 60 kids. And I'm sitting at the end of the row, and I had my cap on, and the lady tapped me on the shoulder, and she said, "In the house of the Lord, we don't wear a hat." And I took it off because I was like a youth pastor, so I think I had to be a little obedient. But then I looked around, and there were nothing but gang members all over the place. And I said to myself, God chose me for that lady to tap, because if she had tapped one of those dudes, it'd have been on, right? But it made me think about the fact that there wasn't a place where I could go to church in a fitted. There just wasn't a place. There wasn't a place where I didn't have to dress up. There wasn't a place. And so from that and the platform of Christian hip hop, we decided, my wife and I decided to just put the call out to people to come and join us to start this different, unique styled church. One that embraces and maybe not even champions the call of hip hop, because that's who we are. Like you guys in Embassy, man, we rap when we feel like rapping. So that's just, it's not like a special thing. We never did like a dress down Sunday, which used to drive me crazy when a church dressed down Sunday, and then they got these hip hoppers come in, and then they got to ask them to dress up the following Sunday. That never made sense to me. So out of those feelings, just having no place for our people, our tribe, right? Decided to launch Elements, and I'm gonna say this: the people that started our church with us are still with us. That initial crew of people, they're still there, man. And that's a beautiful thing. That doesn't happen. But yeah, man, Elements Church, our mission statement is leading the urban culture to Christ by cultivating relationship. And we love people, we love God, we love hip hop, and we try our best to, just intertwine the two. Later on, you're gonna see my associate pastor. His name is Randy Mason. He's gonna rock for y'all later on. And I think Damien is doing something with you guys. I'm not sure. He's another guy from our church, a blessed leader. So this is who we are. And at any time in our church, we've had graffiti artists, we've had b-boys. We always have at least 2 or 3 MCs, and that it's just the fabric of who we are, man. So yeah, we launched from that platform.
We are the
And then
hip
we
hop
have
generation.
brought a whole different flavor from down under, and rocked with
Yeah.
us for how long? We with us, Ev? Like a year or two,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was about a year.
something
Yeah.
like that. And it's family for real. It's family.
We're still here down at the embassy now, man. We're rocking the same building you came to back then in
I love it.
2012.
I
We're
love
here.
it.
Artwork at the back by Evan's brother,
I
Mystery.
love it. I know. Nice.
All right, Ev, do you have one last
So
question for E and then we'll wrap it up?
yeah. I just had one thing. I was talking with E before doing this, and he just felt that I think God put something on his heart that he wanted to share. Based on his experience of pastoring elements and all of that. So E, just tell us what you wanted to say, man. Like,
Yeah, it's real quick, man. I just want to say that 8 years ago, I went out to Crosswords. I went out to UPROCK in Sydney with a heavy heart because um, I felt like we were moving the church in the wrong direction. By that, I meant we were doing church like everyone else. And I came back from UPROCK with a heart that said, we are going to be who God has called us to be. And so I guess my word for you is to be who God called you to be. If God has called you to be a certain way, be a certain way. If he's called you to be hip hop, be hip hop. If he's called you to break whatever it is, man, just be you. Because that to me, for us, has changed everything we do. We're not worried about numbers. We're not worried about money in the sense that we're trying to get it. We are just trying to be us and be as God has called us to be. So that's my word for y'all. I hope you take it. UPROCK 2020. Love y'all. Love y'all, Sydney. Y'all, Crosswords. Shout out to Embassy, our sister church. Shout out to the Bridge in Queens. Love y'all.
Bridging Queens,
Peace. Oh,
Elements
by
in
the
the
way,
Bronx.
I also
We
got
love
to
you.
rap at Crosswords that year. It was great.
Yes.
Peace.
Hey, I won't forget too. Brother E
Yeah.
invited me to rap in New York, but I'm probably going to leave that a little while longer, okay, bro? I might not, might not get over there anytime soon.
A big thanks to Evan, Pete from the Bridge Church in Queens. If you are ever in Queens, New York, go visit Evan. Evan, Pete, brother, thank you for joining us again. He's the guy who planted the church that we've always done, Crosswords and
Right here.
UPROCK in Embassy Church. Still a big supporter of Crosswords and UPROCK. As Mystery said, he and I are pastors of that church, and they let us use the building for all these raggedy hip hop people.
And that was cool that we're able to bring Raggedy Big E out here to rap. Brother E out here to rap with us that year. That was very special.
Very
now,
special.
The year before that, at the very first UPROCK,
The very first UPROCK,
we didn't have an E. We had a D.
We had
Urban D come out, who is also a pastor in America that raps.
yeah,
Who would have thought?
He's from a church called Crossover Church in Tampa, Florida, and they run a festival there called Flavor Fest every year. They just had their digital version last month. And so we've always, there he is, Urban D. We've always...
I still fit it.
We've always kept a tight relationship with them, and we even a bunch of us went over there in 2010 to, talk to them about, hey, we're starting this UPROCK thing. That's where we met Brother E, and everything started from there. But throughout the day today, we're going to have shout-outs from a lot of the people who've been out here as guests. So right now, we're going to get a shout-out from Urban D, and then we're going to get into our next workshop, UPROCK 2020. Peace.
Pastor Tommy down here from Crossover Church in Tampa, Florida, home of Flavor Fest. And listen, man, I want to give you guys a huge congratulations, a huge shout out. I was with y'all on one of the first years when everything popped off at UPROCK. Can't believe you're celebrating 10 years. Congratulations, man. Keep representing Jesus Christ through real hip hop. Love y'all. Miss y'all.
Urban D, the man.
Bro, if you miss us, then come back. Come back, bro.
Now, just so you know, welcome to everyone again. But we do have an actual crew here in Sydney, guys. We're about to put you on camera, so put on your best smiles. And so let's get the... We do have a crew here in Sydney at the building. We got the special UPROCK. We need to give this guy a name, the character in the corner, the graph character in the corner. We're going to give him a name by the end of the day. Kaz operating the camera there. All right, we're deciding his name is Sebastian. Sebastian's with us in the corner, obviously artwork by Mystery. So yeah, there's a few of us here, but we are so happy to have everyone joining in around the place. Again,
Can we
we
also-
apologize for the delays this morning, but we are going to have a great day.
Can we also give a special mention to Chris MC and Enforce, because the streak is alive. From Melbourne and from Adelaide, they have still travelled here for the 10th UPROCK in a row. Most of us only travelled for one UPROCK.
Yes.
These guys have travelled for every single one, gone interstate, even when, you know, in the state that we're in at the moment.
So 9 out of 10 UPROCKs have been in Sydney. One was in Brisbane. These boys are both not from those cities and have travelled interstate every year.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Enforce and Saib.
That was a much better way of saying what I was trying to say.
So we're going to connect now with our homies in Crosswords in the Central Coast. So let's try and get that link going. The Prophet, and he's gonna. We're gonna play a workshop from him and Will Small, two really quality guys we've got up there in the Central Coast. Do I have a jabs behind me? Is that what I'm feeling right now? All right, maybe we'll just go straight to that Prophet workshop and then we'll connect with Prophet a bit after that.
It's Prophet and Will Small.
Hey, we got an amazing tech team working here, working hard, and we got a big blessing. Thank you for those guys who have set everything up. We've also got a Zoom chat running at the moment. Sam's on there, so I don't even know where those details are. We'll figure that out. But there is a chat on your browser screen on your. So send us a message, send us a shout out. Actually, why don't we do some shout outs now? Or we're sorting out that. Are we good to go? All right, let's go to that workshop then. We're not good to go? Let's do some shout outs. So I saw we had Discern on there. Big ups to DJ Discern. We had DJ Aslan from Cali as well. Sivion.
Eschatology's on here. ADL represent.
Sivion from Texas.
Not as committed as Enforce to come all the way here, but that's all good.
Eschatology from Adelaide. Who else is on there, Jabs?
James from Melbourne.
What up?
Also not quite as dedicated as Chris MC to come here, but I mean, let's face it, we didn't even expect him to come here, so it's huge. Young Doe is representing.
All the way from Canada. We're representing Canada. We got a bunch of Canadians representing in the concert later on this afternoon.
Mark Dirksen.
Mark Dirksen, what up? He's going to be performing in the concert later on this afternoon. So it is Saturday morning here in Sydney, and I know that a lot of you guys on the east coast of North America, it is your afternoon/evening, west coast a bit earlier. And everyone, we shouted out DJ Discern. Who else is on there, Jabs?
Junior. Brother Jerome. Kuya J.
Yeah, Jerome from Sydney. We know Jerome.
Boogie One. Shout outs from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico in the
Me
place.
gusta.
Me gusta.
Me gusta.
Me gusta, yes.
Alex at Paradox, Malaysia.
Yeah, Malaysia.
We're getting around. We're getting around.
We've been part of a few conferences in Malaysia with the guys there.
Yep.
And so big shout outs to our Malaysian family. We love you guys. We love you guys so much. So we're going to get into this next workshop video.
Yeah, Just James, Sacramento, California.
Which is the Prophet.
Sacktown, as they call
Sacramento,
it.
California.
Sacktown.
Amazing. Who calls it Sacktown?
I think
They call it that themselves?
I don't know. I think it's in. Yeah.
All right, what up, Sacktown?
Sacktown.
To us as Australians, that doesn't sound too complimentary.
Nothing does.
But if, because we call someone like getting fired from a job, they got sacked, right?
Yeah.
So-
Also, sack wax as well. I don't know if that's a thing over there, but we should definitely move on to that workshop, though.
Yeah, we're getting that. We're getting that going.
Our juniors from Texas.
Texas.
Textown.
Represent Texas. Big shout out to Sivion for sending that wonderful shout out that we started off with. But speaking of Sivion, just want to let you guys know, every year for UPROCK, we do an album. We do a compilation album. And we've done 9 so far. This year, the homie, the Prophet, who we're going to hear from soon, really jumped in there. We got a whole international collaboration album, 24 tracks. It is amazing. Sivion's on there. A bunch of the guys who are in the concert tonight, or this afternoon for us. Let's just going to say later, because time zones are messing us all up. Are on this album. And right now, it is live. If you go to crosswords.bandcamp.com,
Put the link in.
you can get this album. It'll be up on other platforms very soon, and we are even printing a CD. That's how old school we are. Very soon. So if you ordered a merch pack,
A double CD.
then you'll get the double CD coming out to you as well. So big shout outs to everyone who participated. There's like 78 artists on this album, And that's just a testament to the wonderful community that we've been able to connect with throughout the years with Crosswords and subsequently with UPROCK. We started in 2011. This is our 10th one. Now, I understand it's confusing for everyone that the first one was 9 years ago, but this is our 10th UPROCK. So we're just going to call it the 10-year anniversary, and we're just going to stick with that. Yeah. All right? Because it's just too complicated to work out the maths that it's been going for 9 years, but this is our 10th one. Because you start at 0. Let's just say it's that.
So you are going to try and explain it, though?
No, well,
next year we're still going to claim it's the 10-year anniversary, because why not?
Yeah, so we're going to have 10-year anniversary twice. So why not? Exactly, why not? But yeah, big thank you to everyone who's been here. We're about to get that shout-out video or that workshop video going. Even if we can't connect to them to chat, that workshop video is fine.
Mike C loves the huge lineup on the compilation, and N-Force has made a big call.
What's that?
It is the best Christian hip-hop compilation ever made globally, period.
Look, I'm not going to argue with that because it's true.
What can we say? It's definitely the most recent Christian hip-hop compilation made.
All right,
released today.
Let's put that challenge out there. If you can find a Christian hip-hop compilation representing more countries and more different artists anywhere in the world, ever in the history, then we're good, and just let us know.
Yeah.
Keep chatting on the chat. We are going to get into this workshop. The Prophet and Will Small from Central Coast, New South Wales, just for a bit of reference for people who aren't in Australia, it's about an hour and a half north of Sydney. Great part of the world, the Central Coast. So let's get into that workshop now. The Prophet's got some crazy, amazing thoughts with Will Small. So I hope you enjoy and soak it in. Soak it in.
Soak it in, man.
Soak it in.
What's up, fam? It's the Prophet here, and you are tuned in to, I think, the first digital online workshop for UPROCK 2020. Look, we've had a pretty interesting year trying to pull this whole thing together, and I'm super pumped that this has happened in whatever shape or form, whether you are physically at the embassy, whether you are in a hub somewhere, or if you're just streaming in on your own at home. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing some support and love. And I'm super pumped that despite our kind of circumstances and restrictions around events and travel and interstate and international stuff, we can still come together and do something. The past few years, I've had the honor of jumping on and doing some of the MC discussions. So, you know, looking at not just skill-based stuff, but really kind of digging a little deeper. And we've had a few years in a row where I've stepped in to talk a bit about tough topics. Last year, for those who were in that workshop, we did stone slingers. My tooth had just got knocked out, so it was like stone slingers, like Mike Tyson. And we kind of broke down some of the psalms and styles and had a bit of a discussion about just being real and vulnerable as an MC. This year, I wanted to do something different. I partnered up with my bro, Will Small, the poet. I brought the poet and the prophet back together. It's been a long time since we've been able to do stuff as a duo again. And so I'm waiting for him to pick me up for a coffee now. So I'm going to bring you guys along with us, and we're gonna chat a bit in the car. But this session, I wanted to do something for all elements. And this is where faith meets hip-hop culture, the personality test, which sounds super lame. Like, that's whack. I mean, for anyone who's been to a staff retreat, or anyone who's kicked off a new role and done team building exercises, anyone that's stepped into any sort of, you know, group dynamic, you've probably had to do a personality test. Or if you're like me and people have been concerned about your weird sense of humor, you probably had to take a lot of personality tests in different seasons in your life to make sure that you're a safety to your community. But look, I wanted to do this for all elements, and what I love about the hip-hop culture is that the different elements that we have, certain types of personalities tend to gravitate towards a particular element. So for the B-boys, it's quite likely that if you were to generalize, heaps of b-boys tend to be, b-boys and b-girls tend to be a bit more outgoing, love to be the life of the party, don't mind showing off a little bit. They're soft. MCs are proud people, you know what I mean? I love that the DJ producer, a lot of hip-hop heads that gravitate towards that element tend to be a bit more that kind of logical thinker. They're creative, but it's with something tangible, something you can touch and do and work with, and they don't shy away from kind of letting people know about their nerdy side, which I love. Like a lot of DJs and producers are collectors. They collect not just records, but like random memorabilia from like Star Wars or vintage video games or something cool like that. The graph writer, very different breed, but they don't need to brag, and they definitely don't need to brag about being hard like a lot of MCs do, because a lot of people that gravitate towards the graph scene, especially the old school graph writers, they are generally already pretty hard dudes. They're ones that they don't need to talk about it. They're doers. They just do, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also like a lot of self-confidence in that, because you go out and you do, you create, you get better as you go, and you're used to people making a comment or calling you out if they think you're whack or whatever, and just get it done. I love that there's so many different types of personalities and people within the hip-hop scene that gravitate towards an element a little bit more. But in this session, we want to kind of explore a little bit some personality traits on the faith tip, and see that if any of these kind of resonate with you, how you can kind of adopt that more and see how that can overlap or flow into your element or in your kind of circle of influence or your community or just your kind of day-to-day, and I guess more importantly, how you can kind of take on that mindset in your character and let that kind of marry up with what you do, not just what you're creating and doing that in that sense, but more just how do I bring that character into what I'm doing. And so what we're going to look at real quick is I want to read you a passage here in Ephesians, and then hopefully by then Will's come and we'll go get our coffee, and then we're going to chat a bit more about that with the poet, because he's a wise man. He has a beard, so let's just come on. But this particular passage, I want to read it to you. I love it. It's funny because it's like if you were to break down the 5 elements of different people within the early church, this is like that. For us, it's we've got DJ, we've got graph writer, we've got the breakers, we've got the MCs, and we've got the knowledge. You know what I mean? And if you're talking to some old school dudes or KRS-One, they'll chuck in another 5 to 10 hip hop elements. But this here is kind of cool. So if you know much about Ephesians, it's like it's quite deep. But I'm just going to read you a short passage from Ephesians 4:11 through 13, and he breaks down some characters. And for us in our Western mindset, when we read certain passages that list off kind of roles, it's almost like in our brain we can't help but see that as status or job description, or a more traditional sense of what a role is, where when you read this and you remember the audience of this stuff, like these guys didn't have a lot of infrastructure in church and church business and stuff like that. These were like generally some small group of dudes kind of meeting underground so they didn't get killed for their faith. And often a lot of these things are not roles that somebody's come into as a job description. They naturally kind of gravitate to that role because of their character. It's more a personality. It's more a description of a person and their character, and they naturally are gifted with that and find themselves falling into that role naturally within the early church. And so the reason why I wanted to read this is for you guys to read it and not just see it as, oh yeah, that's the type of person, but to say, hey, actually, that is something I resonate with. That's something that probably with a bit of development I naturally have in me. How do I adopt the posture of that role, lean into that side of my personality more, and let that flow into what I do? Because these roles, these are gifts that were given in people to serve the early church and the community through unity of the different characters serving and using what they did. So look, for some of you guys that, you know, have been in the church world a fair bit or get amongst it, you know, you've probably heard these phrases a lot. There's a lot of Christianese in this, and I hope that when you hear this and then when Will breaks it down a bit, it kind of reframes it a little bit, because it's become too familiar. For some of you guys who maybe are not super familiar in the church world, and you know, these words seem foreign to you, I don't want to, you know, to feel like, man, these guys are just going to sit around and be talking all this, like, you know, church talk all day kind of thing. Like, I don't really get these words. They're weird words. We don't use them a lot. So when Will breaks this down, I hope that this kind of makes sense to you as what these words mean in a person's character, and that, you know, after our chat with Will, after, you know, posing a few questions and you guys have a discussion in your hub, that you might actually realize that, oh man, some of these descriptions are a little bit similar to how I feel within how I serve in my community through my element or just in general. And so I really hope that this is an encouragement to some of you guys, and maybe a bit of a challenge too, to say, man, I really need to stop kind of resisting that side of my personality and see how I can just naturally bring that into my world, because in our world we just compartmentalize everything and kind of keep things separate. But it's like, no, how do I just breathe and flow who I've been made to be and what I've been gifted with into everything I do, including my element. So I'll just read this passage here. It's one short chunk. Go read the whole chapter. Go read the whole book of Ephesians. But this bit is specifically talking about gifts who are people to others. Gifts that people have to serve. So Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, or shepherds, and the teachers to equip his people for works of service. To serve, you got to serve. So that the body of Christ can be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God, and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. So those are the five kind of descriptions, the five roles, the five gifts. Apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors or shepherds, teachers. I'm going to get together with the man Will in a sec when he gets here, and what he's going to be talking about is what each of them kind of, what their role is, what that kind of personality looks like in its mature state, in its best state, how that looks. But the kind of shadow side of that, the dark side, that unmatured state of that is, if that's a natural part of who you are, if you're like, you know, the apostle or whatever, the shadow side of that is, in an unmature state, there is some shadow to that. There's some faults within that can be developed. And so hopefully from some of the stuff Will says, you can kind of see, you know, which one describes you, where you can lean in more, what that might look like if it's an undeveloped gift, and how you can, like in any element, hone your gift, hone your craft, and you know, up it. And I'm looking forward to chatting to the poet, man. He's always dropping wisdom bombs. And then after that, you guys have a bit of a chat, and keen to hear how you can find a way that phrase where faith meets hip hop culture is more than a tagline for what Crosswords is, but for something that you can adopt within yourself and go, yeah man, I want to embody that, where faith meets hip hop culture, and I want to breathe that naturally into my life and into my world. So I'll be back in a minute, hopefully with a coffee and hopefully with the poet. Boom.
I know my semantics, syntax, and morphology. When I'm on the mic, you might struggle to follow me. Linguistic MC, realizing the right phonemes. Phonetically, my word diet's packed with protein. Bilabial to velar, fricatives and affricates. Use synonyms and assonance to spit with my compatriots. The attributes specific don't hold significance. The main point is I'm an educated lyricist. I'm not implying a university degree is necessary to spit gold on the MIC, but I refuse to amass a decent hex debt without dropping some of the jargon over scratches on the decks. Life used to be simple playing with tech decks. Now it's laptops and iPods comparing tech specs. But some things don't change with the highest education. You can always be creative if you use imagination.
Peace.
What up, people? We're going to take a little tour through the north side of the Central Coast here. I've got the man, the poet, Will Small. Come on, I told you I'd bring him along to the party. Anyway, we've cut across to the car because we wanted to change it up a little bit. You've been stuck indoors watching stuff on the screen all day, so we're changing it up a little bit. So I'm going to pass it over to the bro here to give a little bit of context into some characteristics of those particular personality types that we're talking about.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great time.
Happy UPROCK 2020.
I appreciate that the Prophet's been dropping some wisdom around the different personalities that we can have in our kind of hip-hop context, maybe thinking about, what it looks like to be a DJ or an MC or a b-boy or b-girl or whatever your element is. And there's this passage in the book of Ephesians where the Apostle Paul is talking about how the church has been given these leadership gifts, and the gifts are actually people. And it's the different ways that God has made us that we actually need each other in community. And if we just have one of these gifts or even a couple of these gifts representing, it's an imbalanced picture. It's the same as you don't really have hip hop if you just have MCs. We need everybody, and it's the same thing with the church. We need to develop people so that we can actually see these kind of 5 giftings all working together in harmony. Sometimes they might clash, but when we learn to see them as gifts to each other, then we actually get the full picture. Kind of like hip hop is this full picture when all the elements are representing. So anyway, the 5-fold gifts that Paul talks about, he talks about apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers. And all of these gifts, right, like anything in life, just like your gifts as an MC, they can be matured and they can be developed. And you might have a leaning towards one gift, but it still needs work, it still needs growth, right? But at their best, apostles, they're the starters, they're the entrepreneurs, they're the innovators, just like the DJs, were the first ones to innovate using a turntable as an instrument. That's a very apostolic thing to do. It's going into new places, starting new things. I guess the shadow side of the apostles is that they can be so convinced about their idea and starting the new thing that they actually leave people behind, and they're not actually good at building that long-term community sometimes. And then we have the prophets. Now the prophets are the ones who always have that kind of in sync with God's heartbeat. And if there is injustice going down or if there is hypocrisy in the community, then you're going to hear about it from the prophets. And the prophets are there to remind us about what matters. Sometimes we get distracted from what we're really about, what it really means to be the family of God, for example, or what it means to be true to the culture. So the prophets, they can remind us of that stuff, but their shadow side is that they can be cynical, they can be disrespectful, because they always see where there's a gap between how things should be and how things are, and that can be kind of exhausting, and they can kind of end up just angrily pointing the finger. But we need the prophets because we need to come back to God's best for us. Then we have the evangelists, and the evangelists, they're the people that they've experienced good news and they can't help but share it. They want to tell everyone about this new thing. I mean, I think about early in the hip hop days, how does a movement like hip hop spread? It spreads because people can't help but talk about it. And that's a gifting, right? For those of us that experience something and we just want to share about it, we want to invite people in, we want to make a more inclusive community. That's an evangelistic posture, is how do we include more people in this? But the shadow side of an evangelist is we can just kind of actually reduce the message, and we can give people like a really simplistic, kind of disconnected, hey, just come in and just hear the good news, and we'll just leave you, kind of leave you just like at the doorway, you've crossed the line, but we're not going to kind of integrate you well into community. It can kind of be a bit disconnected. You know, you see, I guess, some evangelists just on the street corner just trying to like tell people something, but there's no relationship there. It's disconnected from that. So a really deep, matured evangelistic gift is highly relational. Then we have the shepherds. The shepherds, you know, when we think about those that are taking care of people, that are really like, you know, in touch with the person in the community who is suffering the most or who needs the most attention, that's a shepherding gift. Or the other word sometimes used there is pastor. Like our word for pastor is the same as shepherd. We need our shepherds, right? We need those that are looking out for people in the community, looking out for those who are on the fringe. But sometimes our shepherds, the shadow side is that we can become so other focused that we actually become run into the ground. And I know a lot of shepherds who are exhausted, burnt out, tired, that don't have a lot left to give because they're constantly meeting the needs of others. So, you know, when that gift is developed, there's good boundaries. We're always thinking about other people, but not at the expense of our own health. And then the final gift are the teachers. And the teachers are those that shed light, you know, like bring the Word of God to life in our context, in our time, help us to understand the concepts. You know, the teachers, you know, trying to shed light on, the deep truths that God has revealed to us. But the shadow side of the teachers is they can become dogmatic. They can become so focused on teaching concepts and getting the concept right that again they miss the relational aspects and you know, really where people are at in a heart way. You know, we can kind of become obsessed. The Pharisees, I guess, are the ultimate example often of the shadow side of a teaching gift, where we know the truth, but we're actually missing the heart. So something to think about. Where do you see yourself? You know, do you have apostolic giftings, prophetic giftings, evangelistic, shepherding, teaching, whatever it is? My encouragement to you is to lean into that, to develop that, to bring it into community, but also to see it as just one part where we need all five of those to really experience the full picture that God has for the body. Boom shakalaka.
Man, I told you. I told you the poet would bring some knowledge. He always does. I love having chats with that guy. I felt like that was like a podcast. I feel like that, what's his face? Not Fallon, the other guy, where he's like always gets his guests and they drive around in the car and they end up doing a car karaoke, except we just talked a lot, but that's okay. But hey, in your hub, I want to pose a couple of questions. One, have a chat within your hub or on the stream chat and really talk about, hey, what's a primary and a secondary one of those personality traits that really resonate with me. How can I already see that working within my world? How can I already see that naturally come out? And how can I lean into that a bit more and go, man, I need to find some natural ways to really let that kind of come out in what I do and where I am and who I interact with, and to really to do that, not for me, not for my own, you know, reasons, but, you know, like that passage said, so that it will be equip me for works of service, so that the body of Christ can be built up and we can all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God, to become mature and attain the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. After that, second thing I want to kind of explore is to go, what are some like clear ways, specifically in your element, how can that particular personality trait come into my element more? If I'm resonate with the prophet, how do I be somebody that calls out injustices in my community in a healthy way, in a mature way, you know, and helps to identify the gap that needs to be filled. You know, if I really come into the apostle side of things, how do I be someone that goes in, breaks new ground, encourages people to start up something new? You know, mystery, he's definitely an apostle. He's a why not kind of guy. Every team, every crew needs a why not guy to say, hey, Why not? Why couldn't you do that? Let's do it here. Start it tomorrow. Hey, start crosswords over there, like. And if that's you, how do you, in your world, how do you be someone that's an encourager that goes in and just starts new stuff and gets alongside people and really breaks new ground, and to do it in a mature way as well, where that kind of hustler mentality doesn't come in, where you need to go in and be starting new stuff and I've got this entrepreneurial gift, man, and then you're just kind of trampling over people to do that. But how do you do that in a natural way, kind of like Mystery does, like each one of these, someone comes to mind when I read one of these. So first question, which is your primary and secondary? How do you already see that in your world and in your life? Second question, how do you naturally flow that into your element, your specific element? So looking forward to joining in on the chat in person with my hub, but also in general, just kind of hearing everyone's thoughts on this stuff. I love it. I love a multi-element discussion, and looking forward to the rest of the day, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, the Prophet.
Make some noise for the Prophet.
And Will Small in the place to be.
You guys are out of control. Really are.
The guy, you got to understand, the guys here are sort of half between watching it on the screen and watching us on stage, and it's very confusing. But it's all right. But hey, guess what? We got a special treat for you guys. We're going to connect right now with the Prophet. He is up in the Central Coast, New South Wales, which is about an hour and a half.
He's got a crew. He's got a crew with him.
You there, Prof?
Can we quickly get our crew up on there and their crew up on there and just have like a big to each other?
All right, Kaz. Sydney crew, shout out to the Central Coast crew. Can you see them on the screen? They're about to come up on the screen.
Okay.
Except the phone's gimbling. So yeah. There they are. Sydney crew, shout out to the Central Coast crew.
Central Coast crew are very laid back, I've got to say. Hey, guys. Can we get some hands in the air? Wave them like you just don't care. There they are. There's those hands. Much love to the crew there. Sydney to Central Coast.
Prof, make sure your volume's down there so we're not feeding back, mate.
Hey, you know what? Check this out. It's boom.
Yeah, nice. So do you want to expand a bit more on what you were talking about how personality can affect the things that we get involved in and how we draw that out?
Yeah, expand a bit more or ramble a bit more?
Rambling, expanding, but we are running late today, so not too much rambling, brother. We know you're good at that.
I'm very good at that. Look, what I'd love to do is, I think due to time and also due to the amount of talking, maybe just to leave something practical with you guys. And basically, like, I didn't want to, devalue those 5 roles in that passage and in any way water it down. But like, what I really wanted to do is to kind of explore in any element of hip hop. If you're a DJ, a producer, an MC, whatever, a graph writer, wherever you see yourself, to read that passage and look at those 5 roles that people were gifted in the early church to be in service of others, to bring on unity and to equip the church. To go, which one of them is a primary one that resonates with me, that I could develop as potentially a future leader in my community or in my church or in my crew, and which one of those is a secondary, and how can I really adopt that posture and develop that with the same type of intent and focus that I develop my skills and my element, and start to really marry that up and breathe that into my world. So if you're if you're by yourself, grab out your notepad, grab out your phone, grab out your wigwams or your yo-ho, Diablos, or whatever the kids are into nowadays. Get your TikTok.
I don't think it's that.
And I'd really love for you to explore those 5 things and figure out which one of them's a mainie and which one's a secondary, and then maybe start to ask the questions, maybe write a verse, maybe start drawing a picture, whatever, but start exploring how am I going to breathe that personality that I resonate with in one of those roles into my element,
All
I
right.
guess.
Okay, so real quick, I guess for us as a hip hop generation, building on what you've been speaking about, what Brother E was speaking about a bit before, like some may say those passages should only relate to a church structure that we're used to and stuff. And I know with Crosswords we've been sort of for years we've been trying to have that, break some of those boundaries as well. So what would you say to someone who is a b-boy, a b-girl, who is an MC, a DJ, a dancer, a graph writer, or whatever? It's like, does this apply to me? Like, how does that work in your mind to how this can apply to us, and not just in a traditional church setting, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, wicked. So I guess for me, like a good one to break down is that like apostle kind of, role. Someone who goes out and breaks new ground and starts new things. If you can do that and be someone that equips and encourages people within the church, how can you adopt that same posture in your role within hip hop? How do you go out and start new things and connect and equip and encourage people, but without taking on the hustler, entrepreneurial spirit where you just steamroll over people to achieve your own goals? But how do you go in and get alongside people, encourage people? How do you encourage someone to start a really positive b-boy jam there where people are open to talk about, life and faith and values and stuff while enjoying the elements? And how do you, if we're keeping it real, then, we're not just hogging up what we have just for Sundays. Like that stuff should be flowing into everything we do in all of our settings in a genuine way. And it may look a little different in some places, but I think our community and our crews deserve to be able to take part in some of those giftings, not just our people we hang out with on Sundays.
I think it's also worth saying that, we are a community. Even today, we're in hubs together. We spend as much time as we can with each other doing these elements. And I think when you're talking, personality traits and different gifts that we have, I think we need to recognize those things in each other. Often it's real hard to self-reflect and sort of say, you know what, I'm actually really good at this. Because, I'll speak for myself. I'm actually really modest, and I don't like to say what I'm good at. Enough from you, all right? And but you don't recognize those things. You also don't recognize your weaknesses. So, keeping it real with yourself, keeping it real with each other as well, and actually, lovingly challenge each other, tell each other what you see in each other. If you realize someone, has a strength, you can support their strength. You don't have. They're not a competition. We're a team, and we love each other, and we want to support each other, and we want to boost each other, and we want to work together because we are a community. We should be able to see strengths in each other and weaknesses and help each other develop in that way.
Word. Prophet, a big thanks for all your time and effort and all your thoughts. Please give a mad COVID-safe elbow tap to Will Small when you see him next. We love that brother and his ministry. Check him out. He does amazing poetry and hip-hop and stuff. So shout-outs to the Central Coast.
Yeah.
Much love to the Coasties.
We're going to cut to another shout-out now, and then we'll introduce the next workshop. So peace.
Thank you, guys.
Love you, bro.
What's good, Crosswords family? This is DJ Rhino. Just wanted to give you a quick shout out and celebrate with you at 10 years, wow, of representing Jesus and representing through hip hop there, both in Australia and worldwide. Keep representing for the Lord. Keep your fire hot. Keep the music dope and the art top notch. Represent the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. God bless you. Peace.
And we're back. Okay, we got something special for you now. One of our Crossword Sydney homies here, Lycon, he's going to jump up after. You'll see him now on the screen doing an interview with a homie from New Orleans in the States, D1.
New Orleans.
Who's got a lot of great things to say. Anyway, we'll just jump into that discussion, Lycon and D1, talking about representing for Christ, and especially in the secular community as well. But yeah, tune in. Stick around. We got plenty of great things happening today. We're going to have a few breaks here and there. Maybe fewer breaks than we had originally planned because we started late. But let's check out Lycon interviewing D1 in the place. UPROCK 2020. Hashtag UPROCK 2020 for any posts as well.
Kapow, pow, cow, kapow, pow, pow.
Like I keep it real with him the same way I keep it real with you and with Team Mission Vision. So I'm thankful, man, that you know, I don't have to sugarcoat who I am, and I think he's curious. You know, like people are curious. Like, where does that light come from? Where does that it factor come from with D? And you know, I love that. I'm like, man, that's from Jesus, bro. And then it makes me curious. Like, Jesus don't sound like a gimmick to him. It sounds like, okay, this is gangster, you know.
Let's go. They say I keep it too real. Oh well, I ain't got no chill. I ain't in this game to prostitute my soul for dollar bills. In the streets is going down. Titanic. God got me though. Why panic? Who cares if you die rich if you ain't dynamic?
See them threes up, you know what they represent. Be real, be righteous, be relevant. Yeah. Be real, be righteous, be relevant. Yeah. Be real, be righteous, be relevant.
Cool. Yeah, bro. What is it? It's so good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Likewise, my brother. Likewise.
Question one I have for you is, how did you figure out your lane as an artist to be in the secular / mainstream world representing Christ?
It wasn't a lane that I figured out, bro. It was a path I was walking down in my real life. So D1 the artist is just a musical representation of David Augustine Jr., the man. So in my real life, bro, a lot of my friends weren't Christians. A lot of where I grew up at, it wasn't a place where trying to live right or trying to represent Christ was glorified. But I was always someone who felt like we had a lot of unfulfilled potential in the hood. Or I felt like a lot of my friends and we weren't really being led down the right path. The media that was kind of pushed upon us, the music and the messages that were pushed upon us, they were meant to lead us to the grave and to the jail cell. They weren't really meant to lead us, you know, to where we could be closer with God. And I feel like I broke the curse. You know, I broke the curse, bro. When I got saved and when I truly became mentally liberated, and I was no longer a mental slave to what the world wants a young man to just stray down the wrong path. Do. Once I became mentally liberated and I really got saved, bro, I feel like I broke the curse. So therefore, when I got into the music industry, I felt the same way. I felt like it's natural for me to be in the mainstream arenas and around the quote unquote secular or mainstream population, because that's what I'm around in my regular life. The only time I was around people in the church was on Sunday when I went to church. So that's that's 1 out of 7 days. But the other 6 days, man, I'm in the trenches. You know, I'm in the streets with it.
Product of my community. New Orleans. I represent those who feel like, man, I need one opportunity. Some of us don't get it. That's when we go take it. My name is David, and I pledge that I'ma make it. Hood hero. Look at me. Ain't no limit. Masterpiece. They say I hang out with the thugs. If I recall right, Jesus hung out with the thugs. Am I lying? But it's never just because. No, I'm really on my grind. Mark 2:17, yeah, that be really on my mind. I'm relatable, you're different. Yes, I walk that thin line. Most can't, but I can. It's difficult, but I'm trying. So I pray I affect those around me. I pray I influence the environments that surround me. I pray for all the people who judge me and who don't get me. Their hatred don't affect me. They was never riding with me. Ride with me in this tank. You ain't safe up in your car. Spread the word, trending topic, yeah, it's a spiritual war. God's army, Satan's army, tell me who you fighting for. Most don't even know we fighting, and that's who I'm writing for, to enlighten you.
So that's what my music represents too, is it's like, I'm just trying to break the curse, man, of having somebody can be in the streets and who can be on the battleground. Life is a spiritual war. So definitely being on the battleground every day, to where I'm around people who need a doctor, you know, and spiritually, you know, like God is the ultimate healer. So I'm on the battleground where I'm seeing people that are spiritually sick and spiritually dead. And I feel like I'm I'm a soldier, you know, in God's army, who on and off the microphone. So D1.
That's why you wear the camera, right?
Yeah, that's why I wear the camouflage at all
Mm.
times to remind me. But at all times, for those who not familiar with me, at all times, I'm always wearing something that's camouflage. It might be, you might not see it, even if you don't see it on me. Trust me, it's on. It might be my underwear, my drawers that day. It might be my
That's
socks.
super dope.
But I always got something camouflage on because it just reminds me that I'm a soldier in God's army, bro. So so it wasn't a game plan when I got in the music industry. It was just like, bro, I'm just gonna be a rapping representation of who I already am as a man.
How did you believe with that? In the sense of like, you haven't seen anyone else do that. So like, how did you actually like believe? Because I remember like, you didn't even like know any Christian rappers until like not that long ago, right? So I'm like thinking, how did you actually believe I can do well in this for God? Like,
Yeah.
you've never seen it.
How did I believe it, but I never seen it? The same way I believe in God, but I ain't never seen God's face. The same way I believe in Jesus, but you know, I didn't walk the streets and watch Jesus perform these miracles. But my faith allows me to believe in God. So my faith allowed me to believe in myself.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's cool. So the
And like,
second
and let me say one more thing on that too, bro.
Right.
I also believed in it because I noticed the pattern in my life. I realized that I didn't fit into any box, but I always ended up at the top of the crowd. You know what I mean? I didn't fit into any box that made sense, but when it's all said and done, I always ended up at the top of whatever the crowd was. I stood out from the crowd, even though I didn't. So in school, in high school, I didn't fit into any box, any clique, you know, but I was the homecoming king. You know what I mean? I was the homecoming king, and I was shocked because I was like, I don't hang with any of the popular cliques, but I'm the homecoming king. I didn't fit into the box of a basketball player. I got cut 9th grade year. I got cut from the team. I had an ugly jump shot. I'm left-handed. I got a real awkward-looking jump shot, but I got the most points in school history. By the time I graduated, you know, I set the record. So it's like, yeah, bro. So I never fit into a box, but I always ended up all right at the end. And that's how I felt about music. I said, bro, they don't know what to call me. I don't even know what to call myself. But I just feel like as long as I just keep following God and staying true to myself and to what he called me to do, I'm going to end up successful at the end. So that's the answer.
And that's dope because like for me, that's one thing I've tried to, like as an artist as well, is like I try to like draw inspiration, but like from other artists, that's cool, but I don't try to overthink about like what lane I'm trying to go in. It's like you just try to be your natural self and follow God. Because I remember like you and saying like, I don't even care if they call me Christian rapper or they call me gangster rapper or what they call me. It's just like, I'll just let the music speak for itself. So I think that's a dope perspective. And so let's go on to the second question, man. So the second question is, what are some of your favorite moments you've had in the music industry? Maybe it's an award, someone you look up to that you got to meet.
My favorite moments in the music industry so far have been interactions with fans to where I'm able to really see and hear how my music has impacted their real life, how my music has brought joy to them or helped them get through something tough. Those are the best moments, bro. Awards, I got a room full of trophies, and the trophies don't give me any joy, but symbolically, it's amazing to know that the support from my fans and me being loyal to a gift that God gave me brought about these awards. But it's not the trophies that mean more than the actual interactions with a human being. You know, like you and I are on an equal playing field, you know, in God's eyes. We are both human beings that he created. So for one of God's creations who's equal to me to be like, hey, D, my brother, I have been positively affected and influenced by what you do and what you're doing in the name of God. That right there, that's the ultimate.
I've noticed that you don't treat us like fans even, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like we feel like more like fam because it's like we can just have natural conversations with you. And I think like that's something that like separates you from like most of the artists that have reached a level, like they seem unreachable, but you don't seem unreachable. Hence why we're having this interview. But like, you know what I mean? So yeah, like I think that's dope. And yeah, I just want to know, like, with that, like, how have you used your unique position in the industry to shine your light as a believer?
So I've used my position in the industry to shine my light as a believer by utilizing the platforms that I'm afforded. You know, by me being successful and having a pretty big name, it gives me access to larger platforms than most artists get. And on those platforms, I'm able to be intentional about making sure people know I'm not just a positive dude, but I'm a man of God. You know, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Like, that's all, bro. I use these platforms. I use this industry for the purpose that I know, you know, God will want it to be used for. And it's hard sometimes to remember not to use it to just glorify myself, because that can be the easy thing. It's like, hey, follow D1 at DEE, the #1 music on all social media. Hey, check out my new album. Hey, cop my new merch that we just put out. It can be very easy to get caught up in that, but
especially when everyone around you in the same place is doing that thing.
Oh yeah, bro, most definitely. So and I have failed. I have failed at certain points in my career. I failed at using these platforms to glorify Christ. And those are some of my toughest moments to look back on. But rather than letting that stuff get me down or kill me, I've learned from it and just tried to improve moving forward.
Yeah. And I remember the Sway interview, you actually talking about that as well, like with Sway and like, yeah, with the whole BT thing as well, and just like not even knowing what to wear and all of that. Like that was real, man. Like that was like, not everyone would actually say that. So like I had like massive respect for you that you would even like come out and talk about like depression and this like struggling with like feeling like you didn't represent like God the way you wanted to, and like all of that. Like, so like yeah, like that's amazing that you were able to bounce back from that, man.
Yeah, that interview with Sway was 6 years ago. That was in 2014, and honestly, I haven't been able to click on YouTube and watch that interview since then, because it brings me back to that place I was in mentally, bro. And that was a very tumultuous time in my personal and professional life, and I haven't watched it. People always tell me, man, that interview you did with Sway, and I remember the date. It came out October 14th, 2014. That interview right there, that time, everything, bro, extremely like tough for me. I haven't watched the interview since, you know what I mean? But I'm glad other people watch it and they get blessed by it, you know?
Yeah, because the truth is all of us have gone through, maybe not like full-blown depression or like that kind of thing, but all of us go through our own failures and times where we're like struggling, right? So like going to an interview like that, like actually like helped me. I remember when I was really down and stuff as well. So like I think like a lot of people go through that, and like it's good to see like people vulnerable about that and still trying to like cling on to God. And I think we need to be as transparent as possible. And I think that's something that I've respected, like watching what you do, is like you stay really transparent. What are some of your favorite moments you've had being a witness for Christ? Like maybe it's an interview, you shared your faith, or a testimony of how someone was impacted by your music. Like, is there any like particular moments that stand out that I was like, man, I got to actually like use my gift to really like bring a different voice in to a conversation I wouldn't have been able to? Because I saw like even with the DJ Smalls thing, right? Like that's a unique opportunity that not many people get to have. So
yeah, I would say my favorite moment. You know how you can play a different role in. Well, each of us can play a different role in helping to ultimately bring someone to salvation and get them to the point where they decide to choose and accept, you know, Jesus into their life and into their heart. And we can all play a different role in planting seeds along the way. And usually I'm the person that's playing the role of my message or my music or something, or an interview may spark something in someone to make them more curious. And then they go in and maybe they get witnessed to by some other people. So I'm used to playing like a role of sparking interest in people. But some of the moments that mean the most to me have been the moments where I am actually there and get to pray for someone as they choose to accept Christ. They're on the
Oh
spot
man,
in the moment, and I'm able
that's
to take
special.
them through that process. Yeah, bro. Like, it's not only is it special, but it's scary too when you realize, wow, God, like, you chose me in this moment to be here. You chose me to be the one that this person trusts enough to share this vulnerable moment with, to where they really, they're excited, or maybe they're extremely like scared, or maybe they're really emotional and they're crying, but they
Yeah.
but they are accepting Jesus into their life and into their heart. And when I've been there for those moments, and been able to walk with someone through that process, that's probably what stands out the most. You heard me?
And like, has that happened at concerts and stuff? I'm guessing, like
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
one was at a concert. One was after a concert. One was before a concert. One time, and it's been
Before a concert, then you would have
before,
to see you perform, and they were like, "Come on,
bro.
I gotta give my life to God. I'm at a demon concert."
Watch this. Watch this. It was the person who picked me up. Check me out.
Okay.
It was the person who, when I fly to a city, you heard me, to do a show, they'll send a driver or something to pick me up and to bring me to the hotel or wherever I'm staying at. So it's the person who picked me up to bring me to my hotel, and this person wasn't, this wasn't like a church show I had. This was just a like a summer jam type of event. Yeah, so this person wasn't necessarily a Christian or anything like that. They were just like, yo, I'm just a fan of rap music, and my people told me that they booked you, so they got me driving to bring you the way you gotta go and whatnot. And we just got to talking and building and building and building, and we ended up, we ended up having that moment to where they gave their life to Christ.
That must have been a lit show on the way to the show.
On the way to the show. So it was I got to the city. I got to the city the day before the show. So this was the day before the show.
Oh, okay.
In
But
the
like,
car.
you must have been like on extra juice at that time.
Oh yeah, no, that was great. Like, I still remember it to this day. You heard me?
Wow. That's the things that we don't see that are like, that's actually more about like why you do it, I'm sure. Like, it's not obviously for the financial gain or for the fame. It's like, it's those moments there that we will never see, but like you had the privilege of being a part of, and I think that's the thing that I think God raises our platform and gives us those opportunities when like that's our main focus. Like, our focus isn't like how famous we can get or like how like the platform we can get. Like, of course, things are good, so we have those opportunities, but I think God provides that to us when we just like focus on being a witness,
For sure.
Yeah. So like, one thing I want to ask on as well is like, how did you maintain your relationship with God while being super busy? Because I know like you doing like probably interview after interview, like having to do all these songs and merch, all of this stuff. Like, even just thinking about it, it stresses me out, like thinking about how much you have to do. So I'm just wondering, how do you do that?
How do I maintain my relationship with God while being so busy? Before I got this busy, I had my relationship real tight with God. So it's like if you get into a relationship with someone and you and that person know, hey, we're gonna have a very busy life together. But before that busy life begins, y'all solidify y'all foundation. You know what I mean? So now when that busyness begins, that busy life, that busy touring schedule, being parents together, just traveling, always having a bunch of multitasking to do. Before that, y'all solidified y'all foundation and y'all relationship. You feel me? That's equivalent to what this was, bro. Like, before I got into the industry and ever got booked for a tour, or before I had albums and merchandise and hundreds of thousands of fans, before any of that, I had my relationship tight with Christ. So once I became busy, it became something where I had to remember to never get too busy to neglect my main priority. And my main priority, like God is like my it's like my fuel tank, you know. So I can't run
Yeah.
without any gas in my tank. And
Yeah.
that's the part that I even have to remember is I am my best when my relationship with God is strongest. So I have to do the work to make sure, and I have to carve out the time to make sure that relationship stays strong, and that I stay with fuel in my tank, man. If not, I'll be running on fumes, and I have run on fumes before in this industry, and it's mentally and physically exhausting.
Yeah, yeah. And like I can even tell you, like, from just doing, like, not even like being in the industry like that and just doing music and like the other stuff that I do as well, like that's even like a struggle for me. And that's why I asked the question, because I want to see, like, from someone that's so busy, like how they're able to maintain the relationship with God. Because a lot of us say we're too busy or we're struggling to maintain our relationship with God, and we may not even have the same kind of constraints that you do, but like we get caught up in doing so many things ourselves, right? So it's like, I think it pertains to everyone. And like the thing with like, the thing that I want to know is like, how did you like carve out that time, in the sense of like, how do you have to reject certain opportunities to carve out that time, or is it like I need to wake up earlier or something? Like, how do you actually purposely carve out that time to spend with God?
I have to say no to a lot of things that I could do. There's a lot of demand for me to be everything for everybody, man. Like everybody wants to, you know, a lot of people want to hang out. A lot of people want responses on social media. A lot of people want requests. A lot of people, they want interview requests. A lot of people, a lot of family. Everybody, you know, wants to hang. A lot of people want to talk on the phone. There's too much demand on any of our time for us to say yes to everything. So it's about being able to say no, and to be proud to say no, not because you're a mean person, but because it's like, hey, I can say no to these things because God comes first. So it allows you to prioritize when you say spending time with God or responding to these DMs on Instagram. And it's just like, you know what, bro? Those DMs could wait. They'll be okay, you know. But me spending time with God, that's powerful. And also, bro, like we were put here to worship. So if we aren't consulting with and thanking and praising God, we're actually being disobedient to part of the reason why we were put here. So even remembering that makes it easier to say, oh, I definitely got some stuff I can say no to in order to make time to praise and worship God.
And I think that's big, because we can justify like not spending time with God as like, I'm doing things for God, so therefore I am kind of like spending time with God. You know what I mean? Like you could just be like, yeah,
that's powerful.
Because you could just be like, hey, I'm making this song for God, I'm doing this interview for God, so therefore, yeah, I'm doing stuff for God. So why do I need to stop and spend time with God? But then that aspect of worship is huge that you just said.
Man, bro, that is a great point, bro. And you're right, we can turn ourselves into a product so much so that it's like, hey, me as a product, like people know that I'm an artist who's doing it for God. So therefore, me as a man, I might not be making the time that I actually need to make to really worship and praise God in real life, because I feel like I represent being a man of God as a product. And we aren't products, we're people. So before being a product, or in addition to being a brand and a product, you know, in addition to being D1, I'm David Augustine Jr., the man. And where is D1? D1 is an attachment. He's an add-on to who David really is. He's the professional version. But at the end of the day, D1 won't be standing before God. David will.
Wow, that is deep. That is so deep. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's 100. Like, it reminds me of like when Wayne, I think Wayne said in the song, like, Wheezy is Wayne, Wayne is Wheezy, or something like. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's right because he hadn't really killing people in real life. But anyways,
Zero.
yeah,
Zero.
zero.
Yeah.
So question 6 I have is, how do you keep your light shining in the darkness while being so involved in the secular music industry for so long? Like, I'm sure you must have faced plenty of temptation, like compromising for financial gain, possibly compromising for fame, and not to mention women throwing themselves at you, because I saw that Facebook video. Everyone was freaking out of that girl after the show putting the hand around you. And like, I'm sure there's been plenty of moments where temptation could overtake you. So how do you keep your light shining in that darkness?
How do I keep my light shining in the darkness? Well, the truth is that conviction, bro, the sense of conviction that I felt when I haven't shined my light in the darkness, that sense of conviction really bothered me when I felt like I've let God down. And that's in my personal or my professional life. And that sense of conviction has motivated me to want to make God proud. That's all it is, bro. Like getting to the point where we can be disappointing God and we can be numb to it. That's a very dangerous place to exist, man. Very dangerous place to exist.
Yeah.
So thankfully, thankfully, I have always just been conscious of knowing how temporary life is. You know, I think that started the first time one of my friends got murdered. You know, it
Right.
it hit home real quick. Like, bro, that could have been me. You know, and that just lets me know that everything my boy wanted to do in life, he won't be able to do it. Every wrong he wanted to make right, he doesn't have that time anymore. And he didn't wake up that morning knowing that that would be his last day on earth. So thinking about that, it just gave me chills, bro. And it made me more conscious of, you know, how I'm trying to live every day, bro, for real.
How do you actually like physically do that process of, like not compromising and that kind of thing? For example, like I'm sure there must be like women that have DM'd you or try to hit you up at a concert or whatever it may be, and then probably there's been people that have like come up to you and try to say, if you do this, this, and this, we'll sign you and give you this massive money. So is it just a matter of just like trying to flee that kind of scene, or like just standing your own ground? Like, how do you like stop
Yeah,
yourself from being involved in that?
right. So I was about to use the analogy that when you know what uniform you have on the basketball court and you know what team you're playing for, it becomes easier not to shoot at the wrong goal. You know, because you know what your goals are because you know what team you're playing for. So you know where the goal is that you should be aiming the ball right at. You know which basket you should be shooting at. Knowing what team I'm on makes it easier to identify when an opportunity or a situation is a temptation, you know, from the captain, the captain of the other team, which is
Right.
the
Yeah.
devil.
Yeah.
Now my flesh makes it to where I'm still, you know, vulnerable to being tempted to make the wrong moves and make the wrong decisions. And I never will act like I'm above that because that keeps me needing to run and cling close to God's word and close to being around other believers or being in God's presence, because the second we think we have it all together, that's when the devil is like, oh yeah, you'll be an easy target now because you're so cocky that you think you're above this. So that's the main thing. I just know what team I'm playing for, bro, and I make mistakes, man. Like hopefully that liberates somebody right now hearing that, knowing that I, you know, D1, the man who, you know, Shane thinks really highly of me. Obviously, there's a lot of fans and music lovers who think really highly of my music and my message, but I still make mistakes, and I still have to go through the process of asking for forgiveness and trying to figure out how to not keep making the same mistakes. Like it's still a real thing, bro. So so if I'm going through it and I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up on myself because God hasn't given up on me, So somebody should be able to take that and apply that to their life.
Yeah, 100. And with the final question I have is, well, it's kind of like two questions in one kind of thing, but like, finally, how did you stay motivated early on in your journey and in the difficult times? And with that in mind, what would your advice be for an upcoming creative?
All right, how did I stay motivated early on in my musical journey as an artist? Whew. So I was really driven by proving people wrong who doubted me. I was really driven by wanting to make a lane where I didn't feel like there was a lane. Like that really motivated me. And I'm getting specific, talking about my city. In New Orleans, where I'm from, there wasn't a lane for the music that I do or the message that I have. There wasn't a lane for it that showed any type of success at the end of the tunnel. And I was motivated to make it for that reason, because I thought about my life before being a rapper. I was a teacher. I was a middle school teacher, and I thought about how my students did not think it was possible to come from the state of Louisiana and to be a positive, intellectual man of God and actually make it in the music industry. And I was motivated to want to prove to them that it was possible. So my answer to your second question, as far as the advice I would have for an up and coming artist, I would say that this game is overcrowded. There's a lot of people in this game who are just taking up space, and they're making it harder for the real ones to be able to get noticed. So the best way to get noticed is to take all of the things that make you who you are. Your personal story is different. It may be similar to other people's, but it's not the same. It's different. So taking your personal story and being able to effectively tell your story. If your voice is a little different than somebody else, that's a good thing. Don't look at that as like, oh, I don't sound like Quavo, I don't sound like Offset, so dang, I don't sound like Lil Baby, so that's a problem. No, that's a great thing. That means you have something unique about you because your voice is different. So stop trying to be like what someone else is already doing successfully, and embrace what you have and just turn it up, turn it up to the max, the things that make you unique.
Like the other thing I'm just thinking about with like values, right, for upcoming artists. Like I remember early in your career, you had that song Shut Up and Grind, and you said like, you're playing video games, we don't grind the same.
I'm in the you playing video games. We don't grind the same, so we don't shine the same.
So I was thinking like time management and priorities is something you really valued early on, is like using your time wisely and like using your gift the priority, right? Like, so would you speak on that and maybe other values that is a must for someone that's trying to like, do music or whatever they're trying to do for God, like with their gift, like upcoming?
Yes, an extremely strong work ethic is a must in this industry. There's people who truly want to turn this into a career, and there's people who just want it to be a hobby. And if you want it to be a career, you have to put in more effort than you put into your hobbies. So when I wrote Shut Up and Grind, the exact dude who I was speaking about, I know to this day exactly who I was talking about. I say, I'm in the that's a abbreviation for the studio. I say,
Okay, I didn't actually understand that. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah,
I was like, is it the city or something? The yo,
yeah, I'm in the you playing video games. We are not the same.
Yeah.
We
don't grind the same.
We don't grind the same. So therefore I say, so we don't shine the same. I'm on my job. So if we don't grind the same, then we're not gonna shine the same. So when you see the level of success that someone has, don't envy what they have in terms of shining, but look at and learn from how much grinding they had to put into it, man. And you know what, some people are bad examples of that because it seemed like they didn't grind that hard to get where they at. Me, I didn't take any shortcuts. So look at my journey, and that'll tell you everything because I didn't take no shortcuts.
All right, dope. So work ethic, time management, giving. I mean, like obviously putting God number one.
And authenticity.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm one of the most authentic artists out there, and I think that anyone else who's authentic, you would definitely carve out a lane for yourself to where you irreplaceable.
Dope. I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, D. Like we really appreciate it, and yeah, like, could you maybe let us know any ways we could pray for you?
Yo, so has it started? Yeah, so the Zoom call cut out after the prayer points, yeah. So I did get some, but then like it's on a photo basically, but yeah, we might bring that up later. But yeah, anyways guys, thank you for tuning in. That was D1 from New Orleans. So right now we're gonna bring in James Garden actually to have a discussion on a few questions that I have on similar subjects. So yeah, James, where you at? And we got my brother Mystery here. I'm good.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, what up?
It's good to see everyone.
What's cracking, my bro?
Yo, nothing much. My life like golden. I can't hear Mystery.
It was good having you here last year, James. And now in a virtual sense, not as good, but still good nonetheless.
We'll make it work.
Anyways, we're gonna get this thing started, bro. So I have some questions. So question one is, what were some things D1 said in the interview that stood out to you, and how do you approach using your gifts in a relevant way in the world while being a witness for Christ?
So that interview was really, really good. There was a lot of really good points that I think D1 covered. One of the things when he told that story about the driver that he was able to witness to before the show, I think that what that reminds me of is that when you're a creative, the loudest thing you have to witness is going to be the way you live. Like I think a lot of times we think my craft or the art or the gifting that I have in is going to drop, but a lot of times the way you live is really what's going to draw them. And I'm just reminded of, I think it's John 13:35. It says, "This is how all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." And so I think like the way we love is what will draw people to us, to make them wonder like, why do we love this way? And then eventually connect them to Christ. I think another thing he talked about was like how he spoke about life just being temporary and like finite. And I think that's really important to remember that, because you have to remember you were created for a purpose and for an assignment. And you need to live every day fully in serving God for that, because this is temporary, but we need to build up those treasures. And I think that's the front facing focus in our art and in our lives that I think will help us stay on the right path. And to answer like, how do I approach using my gifts in a relevant way in the world while being a witness for Christ? I like to look up definitions. So I look up the definition of relevant, significant and demonstrable bearing on the matter at hand, affording evidence tending to prove or disprove the matter at issue or under discussion. And I think when we think about how do I create art that's relevant, if I know that we live in a broken world, any art I create to point to who can fix it is then relevant. And you understand maybe the language that's more digestible, not switching your message, but the language that people will be drawn to, then maybe that's how you make it more digestible. But I think
Right.
we are in a broke, so we are with it when we point to who fixes it.
Mm. What about you, Mystery? Like how do you approach that? Like just trying to be relevant while still, like keeping your faith.
I mean, the short answer for that is character. You know, like you got to be in touch with the source at all times. You know, like you can never let hip hop or your status or whatever become an idol. But I think one of the core things that D1 mentioned, which stood out to me, was at the end of the day, when he stands before God, he's David. He's not D1.
Yeah.
And I think that for each of us, this is all just fun and games. This is a bit of fluff, and like any status that we might have is fleeting. You think of like some of the kings in the Bible that spoke out against God. One was eaten by worms, and it says in the Bible that the kings that follow God lay their crowns before God, before the throne. And so I think that we need to just keep everything in perspective. Like I'll be honest, sometimes you can get caught up in it. And I think D1 mentioned that as well. And there've been times where I've been doing like a tour, or I might have a little bit of, kudos in the scene for a period of time, or I might be overseas and you're a bit of a celebrity.
Yeah.
And if you start to believe your own hype, that's a problem, And I think, obviously, like I said, keeping in contact with the source and reminding ourselves that we're saved by grace and all that, but also having good brothers and sisters around you that you can be open with, and they can bring you down to earth if need be.
Yeah, keep you accountable. Yeah, cool, man. Well, James, the second question I have for you, bro, is what are some of the challenges you've faced in the ministry context, and how have you overcome them and maintained your relationship with God?
I have to go back into my brain, but I think a lot of it was definitely when I was younger, fighting against what's relevant. I think the way I view what's relevant now and understanding it is way different than when I was younger, right? And so when I first started making music, I wanted to compete with the big artists, and so there was a battle of I'm Christian, and do the whole I'm a Christian that raps, I'm not a Christian rapper, and that whole battle. And what I had to figure out is God didn't call me to minister in stealth. He didn't tell me to be a secret Christian so you can trick people into loving me. He doesn't need me to work like that, that. God doesn't work with tricks he's God. Doesn't need to use those sort of tactics. And so for me, I think learning as I grow how to fully walk in my calling, and not hide it, is probably the thing I had to battle with the most. And what I've seen is once I did that, it bared more fruit. There were more opportunities. I met different people, but even within that, I grew more. I was stretched more as a creative, as a man of God. And I think for me, I had to learn that I can't care too much on how my faith looks on the outside. I need to care on how it's changing me on the inside, and that's gonna help my ministry in the long run.
Dope. What about you, bro?
I mean, not necessarily challenges, but I think one of the things that for us as artists and creatives, and even as believers just in general, is working out who we are. Imagine if I came up to you and I said, hey man, I'm a Christian builder, I only build churches. It sounds ridiculous, you know what I mean? And and as Dee mentioned as well, there are many things that make up his identity. He's a former school teacher. Obviously he's the son of his parents, and we have a whole bunch of different roles. And obviously our faith is integral to how we manifest God in all of those areas. It's not just in one thing. But I think one of the challenges is finding out what that actually is, because we have so many pressures to sort of take us in different directions, And when I first started, when I first came to faith and started incorporating, Christian-based lyrics or Christian content, that was a real challenge because it was like, oh, I don't want to be a church entertainer, but then again, I don't want to be like out there like keeping it real and in a sort of judgmental kind of way. It's like this balance of what does it really look like, but it's like James said, it's like your own walk is what is going to translate, and sometimes it doesn't have to be super preachy. Sometimes it is, and God will highlight and provide opportunities. Pray that you don't have fear to not step out into that. But there are also times where it's like a long, like Paul said, running the race. It's a long thing. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, and I think it's like the balance of like making sure people know you're different and you're a believer, but like not just like shoving in their face and it feeling like you're just like it's just like something you're just trying to like put on, but like it's just like actually like it just comes out in the way you live, and I think that's the key.
Can I tell you a funny story?
What?
I was in a crew called Brethren, and we were very fortunate to have a lot of connections in the secular scene. In Australia, because hip-hop started in sort of like the early 80s, some of us that were Christians were some of the guys that started the scene anyway, and so there's no sort of like, separation in many ways, so we're fortunate in that regard. But we were one of the artists that were the opening act for AC Alone from Freestyle Fellowship.
Right.
And, over the years we've been blessed to I pretty much toured with most of the MCs or performed with them that I grew up listening to, so it's been a real blessing. But we were backstage waiting to go on stage, and we were just right near the door, and the whole backstage area was just dudes smoking, and I'm not talking tobacco, you know what I mean? And so we were like near the door so we could breathe oxygen, And anyway, one of the other acts came up through the smoke, and he goes, "Are you guys brethren?" And we were like, "Yeah, man." And he goes, "I'm a Christian." And I was like, "Brother." And then we started talking, and I knew his brother-in-law, and he was a b-boy, Christian b-boy, and we just started talking about our faith. We just fully killed their buzz. But you know what? Like, people heard it, and I think, that witness of just like being excited about our faith and about being part of the body of Christ, that spoke to people in that room. They might not have wanted to hear it at the time, but a lot of those guys have remained friends with us, and we still keep in contact, and God's doing a work,
Yeah, this is dope. That's dope. The light shines brighter in the darkness, right? James, the third question I have for you, my bro, is what are some experiences that you've had where your gift was able to plant a seed or bring someone to Christ?
I can't think of a specific time where like I know for sure it's brought them to Christ, but I perform a lot back when performing was a thing in the States. I performed a lot like in bars like that, and for me, there's been times where people will come up to me after a show and be like, I was feeling very sad and depressed before I came here, and now I feel like a weight has been lifted. And I know that's not my doing. That's not my clever writing. That's not me performing. That's all God. Like, I have a power to make stuff that you might want to nod your head to, but when it comes to the matters of like healing hearts or like changing hearts, I do not. But I think for me, like, the other thing too is I love talking to people at the merch table. And like not talking to them just to sell something, but to really be like, so like, what do you like to do? Who are you? And I think that connects to like what D1 was talking about, right? It's like, I think when they start get to know like the life you live and the love you show, I think those are the times where I know I make connections where we talk to each other on Facebook and they talk to me on social media after shows about non-music stuff, like either for prayer or just like bearing their heart. And I think those are the times where I really get to plant seeds that will bear fruit in time.
Bro, I just got to say that people underestimate something so simple as listening to them. Like quite often you'll talk to an artist or whatever, and they're just like looking around, waiting to go, and you feel so undervalued, And when I look at Jesus, like he's sitting there having something to eat with people. He's chatting to the woman at the well. He invested in people, and it's such a rare commodity. Love it's not as common, and a little gesture just like listening and asking questions.
Yeah, listening and asking questions. That's big, man. Like, one thing I would say as well, shout out to Team Mission Vision. That's D1's fan group that I'm part of. Dude, like he does Zoom calls with us, D1, and he just like asks us questions and wants to learn about all of us, and he knows like everyone's name by face, you know. So it's like that like really
That's
means
dope.
a lot, more than like even the music, him as a person, you know. So James, question 4, bro, is what advice would you have for someone who's developing their craft and trying to figure out how to keep God first while being relevant?
I mean, I think like the easiest way to answer is develop your relationship with God first. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're connected to each other, right? Like if God calls us to work in excellence, right? And so the more you know God and you know how God sees you, I think then that should drive you to learn and be a good steward of it. But I think like when you're striving to be the best at something to compete with other people, that's a totally different sort of like drive. But if your drive is like, I want to serve God and serve God well, that means I'm going to be a good steward with my time, my talents, and everything that God has gifted me with. So I would say do that and keep a circle of friends around you that will keep you accountable and won't allow you to turn yourself into an idol or to treat people lesser than. Like I have some friends where if I get out of line, they're calling me, they're having a conversation, and I better get in line or we're gonna have an issue. And so keep those people that keep you accountable to the faith and to your walk.
Yeah, I think that as the final point, that's what community is about, and that's why Crosswords was formed. I've been blessed by it. It's opened up doors to meet guys like James, to meet guys like the graph writers. Big shout out to the graph writers. We're going to show the video in a bit, but be patient. The Lord is teaching you patience. So but yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks heaps.
Thank you so much, James. It was so good talking to you, bro. And where can
you.
people find you at, bro?
So my website is supercleanjames.com. You can find everything there.
All right, dope, bro. All right, thanks all once again, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you later, bro.
Great seeing y'all.
Thank you.
Peace.
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 Hey, what up, guys? Hopefully you're doing good. My name's Sons One, Supernatural's crew, Gospel Graffiti GH. I just want to say, with everything going on, man, continue to press into God. God knows the beginning. He knows the end. He provides for you. He brings encouragement. He can give you a peace no matter what situations are going on in your life. So, man, for you guys, I just pray everything with all of us going through this, man. I just pray continue to press on into Him, man. God bless. UPROCK. Peace. Love you guys. All the best.
Yeah.
Is that your bottle?
Big shout out to Sons One. Here we are. Sons One from Canada on the shout out there. Big thank you to James
Sons.
Garden, Lansing, Michigan in the place, all of the above. Hip Hop Academy as well in the place. Shout outs to Oze and everyone there. Two of our guests who've been here before. Speaking of which, before we get into the next thing, Jabs, let's have some actual shout outs to the people who've been chatting online.
Yes.
There's also a Zoom happening with Sam's up on the Zoom, but let's get on to the people chatting on the stream. So let's go to Jabs there, Kaz, and see what he's got. Oh, hang on. First one.
How do I scroll up?
Big shout out to the Vickery Beast. Phasm wanted us to shout out his son, the Vickery Beast.
Yeah, the Vickery Beast. I like that name, actually. Vickery Beast.
Phasm Gospel Graffiti crew represent. Crosswords
All right,
artist as well.
Who else is chatting on here? Sam Law is putting in the work, chatting with everybody from here out into the world. He's also on Zoom if you want to get involved in that.
Also, Moped from
Isn't it
Guatemala.
Moped?
No, apparently it's Moped from Guatemala.
Moped.
Young Doe from Canada's on there. Shout out to Young Doe. Man, it's so great to see everyone participating and chatting.
Monks is on.
Monks is on, our Sydney homie. You'll see him in the concert a bit later on as well. Great performance. That we're looking forward to playing that one.
Brother E's still hanging around.
Brother E, Bronx, New York, Elements Church.
DJ P's on there. Also, a workshop later on.
Yeah, DJ
Heaps
Payne.
later on, like real late.
Yeah.
Is that because it's one of those after hours ones that?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're going into the evening here. I know a lot of the guys on the east coast of North America will be longer sleep unless you want to stay up for it. But yeah, but then our European homies are going to join us later. So time zones, man, time zones. When you're dealing with the globe, you got to adjust to the time zones. What can you do?
Phasm's on. Ed the Rev is on. He's very excited to see his nephew still on the show.
Yes.
I mean, the kid's got green shorts. He's representing alongside.
Yeah, he knew the hosting bit.
The Green Dax group that is representing here.
So just to clarify, that was Mystery Son Enoch who jumped in on the thing right there. So let's get into the next workshop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as I
Production.
mentioned, there's a Zoom happening at, I don't even know where to get those details, but if you jump on the Facebook, I'm
Sam
sure
will let you know in the
share
chat.
them.
Yeah.
Or Sam will let them know in the chat. But I just said hello there to Sundance, who's our next guest. We're going to play a workshop from him. He's talking about production, making beats and that, but also not specifically just about that, but about things in life and creativity. And just something else we wanted to say about this year's UPROCK is because we're online, when we have it here in the place, we usually have 3 or 4 different workshops happening at the same time so that people can, pick and choose. But because we're on one stream, everyone's going to be appreciating each other's elements today. So there's dance, there's art, there's graph, there's emceeing, there's going to be some production happening up next and stuff like that. So check it out. Sundance, originally from the States, now Dunedin, New Zealand, represent. And we're going to throw to him now. UPROCK 2020. In your place.
Okay. Live and direct from Dunedin, New Zealand. Peace and love to everybody. This is Sundance from the Boombox Titans. Peace to Crosswords. Peace to UPROCK 2020. Peace to everybody out there that's checking out this section of the event. This is going to be dedicated towards some production tips, tricks, and ramblings. And this is my 3rd year being here in New Zealand. And I think right now the presidential election is still being decided. And let me tell you, I do not regret leaving the States one bit. What a nightmare. Matter of fact, we shouldn't even be talking about production, dude. We should be talking about what is going on with the States. I think that should probably be the topic for the entire UPROCK. But speaking of things that don't necessarily get along, I wanted to talk a little bit when I was talking to Mars about like what would be a good topic or a good thing to talk about. The whole question was kind of like, Sundance, we're having you as a guest. You, I haven't even made a beat in probably 3 years. All I've been doing is basically surfing New Zealand. So like what kind of topic can a guy that hasn't even produced anything in 3 years do to talk about production? And I think I did want to talk today a little bit about conflict that I've always kind of dealt with as a producer. And that's sort of the conflict between playing versus chopping and sampling. And I'll tell you kind of where I ended up arriving to my current sound, because I have been making beats for 2 decades or so. And then for those of you watching, unfortunately I'm 45. And looking at my face in this monitor, I see that I look extremely tired, and that sucks because even though I am 45, a lot of times I am generally associated with Brad Pitt, other famous stars, a lot of male models. But as it's so right now, I don't really feel like the camera. I think a lot of it is the AV settings on the camera, and it's just not it's not bringing out the sheer level of handsomeness that normally people attribute to me, and that kind of sucks. But anyways, what I wanted to do is just kind of go back in time a minute, to sort of how I got to even making beats. And that's basically my avenue into production was through live playing. So growing up around the music industry like I did, and being doing different lessons, I did piano lessons for a long time. I actually played bass for a long time. And then towards the end of the 90s, I actually got into DJing. And the only thing I hadn't done by the end of the 90s was really getting into making my own music. I got to spend 2 years trying to figure out how to make beats. And the problem was that I had like a side of me that was a live player, but I also had a side of me that was into, that had like hip hop fundamentals, like, like chopping samples and I was kind of raised on, that kind of primo, like digging in the crates, like, Smith and Wesson style, but there's like another side of me that also was into the roots. I was into like the Earthquake Brothers, like, like the freestyle fellowship style kind of jazziness. And so when it came down to making my own stuff, I didn't really know what to do because I was by myself. I didn't really know anybody. So for the first few years, I was just figuring it out. So let me show you kind of what I mean. Let me just share computer sound. Bear with me. Okay. So like, here we go. Here's me trying to play something. You can see like gaps in my game. Like I had the keys, which is something I've always had a little bit of the key skills, but the tones weren't completely right. The mix was not quite right. And I think more than anything was the snare. Bad choice of snare, right? Just wasn't hitting. So yeah, like that was from the year 2000. So I was like trying to get stuff out. I felt pretty good about the keys. But like the rest of it just, I don't know, it just wasn't quite hitting. So I think Sundance, also known as, anyways, so I started grabbing, I found like a couple of basic samples around that time, and I think I found that drum loop. Man, I'm playing myself, dude. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the original artist, dude, but it's a common loop. It's a common drum loop that I think probably is the most famous being used with This or That from Black Sheep. But I started saying, okay, I'm not that great of a drum programmer. I've only been like average at best. And so I started like combining the two. So I played all that jazz. Actually, that's not even too bad for 2001 though. But, I kind of, at this point, I kind of started when I was figuring, out how to chop a little bit and work with this stuff. I started realizing like it was cool, but how could I come up with different sections? And a few years later, I got a job over at, yeah, right. So between 99 and about 2001, I was working in my dad's studio. And then right around 2002, I got a job at the biggest studio in Vegas. And it's called Digital Insight. And I was like Lord of the B Room. I wasn't really doing too many great sessions, but I was able to get, sharpen my skill set and do my own experiments, which ultimately led to getting Boombox Titans. We were able to do our album there and figure out a bunch of stuff along the way. And one of the things that I figured out is like, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't when it came to sampling. So like, this is one of the ones where it actually did work. Except this was when I was kind of doing moonlighting stuff over at Cool DJ EQ's studio. But and I'm pretty sure I did that over there. But pretty simple little bit. So in that situation, you'll notice that has like kind of a familiar, almost like Boombox Titans Voice in the Desert sound, because it was from the same session. So that drum sound, the reason the drums sound like that is because I actually recorded those with Aaron Hatfield, who did all the drums for A Voice in the Desert. So whereas in the first joint, like I had a loop drum and then I played on top of it, this one was recording somebody playing and having samples on top of it. So that worked all right. But the thing is, it just was real, I don't know, it just felt really limiting. I wasn't able to get the sections done the way I wanted them to. And even in that one, like the mix is just, average. So going into like, I'd say, so this is around circa 2003. Once I get into like 2004, probably all the way up to like 2008, I was in this weird in-between phase where I was actually really, really, really trying to make a living doing music. And that kind of messed me up in some ways because I was slinging beats to people all the time. But as a result, I wasn't really able to ever really get my own sound together because I was always kind of like doing what someone else wanted. And that's something as a producer, you're going to have to figure out, like if you're a, I guess a blue collar producer and you're just, doing the production thing, it's, you're either going to be one of those producers that you're either going to be with a crew, which is probably what I'd recommend, because you can really like dial in a sound and you don't have to worry about anything. You just collaborate with a few people or one person and you get it done. That's number one. Number two, you could be like a producer who ends up catering to specific clientele. And I think your clientele and the people that buy are going to kind of inform how, like what tracks work and what tracks don't, right? And then you'll be sort of like the other type of producer who, you just do what you do, you put it out there and, it either works or it doesn't. And for me, I was one of those guys that would kind of be consultative and I'd be like, well, what do you like? But then at the same time, I was also making my own tracks as well. So it was kind of weird because what I felt like is that it sort of like split my time and it kept me from really ever getting super focused. And at the same time, I was engineering all the time. So like I was spending a bunch of time mixing other people's stuff. I was spending a bunch of time playing, like kind of making beats for, kinds of music that I wasn't even really into. And then I'd be making some stuff for myself. So by the time I got to like stuff that I do for myself, a lot of times this is like, I just wouldn't have the patience to finish it the way I wanted it to. So a lot of it would be like, like real unnuanced. I don't know if that's a word. It'd be like, loops that didn't really have like the sort of nuance that if you spent all that time into it, you would get. So that would be like a tip I'd actually say to people I'm not trying to like go off topic, but I would say like, it's probably better to be focused and really, 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 really good at one thing than to be like marginally decent at a whole bunch of things. And I think that's, for that part of my career, that's what I was. So I'll give you an idea of what I mean. So I'm gonna play you one beat that's like, from when I was about to do a solo record. And then I'm going to play you like from the same era, something that's, played. Yeah, sorry.
If the game is all about respect, you better check the way you serve it. Ineffective, finishing is met with intellect. Don't give a second, then I reckon in a minute. Imitator, radiant till end up in the middle. Measure, meditative way to make a mark up on the mic and vitamin. The irritating cadences instead of dissipating pages of an era where we lived on respect. We lived on respect, now watch my mic check. Come along a line of thought, if I'm a hot MC, I might have brought a bit of better.
That bird sample's hard though.
About a minute's left, a minute that I levitate and fade, predated postures in this element. Cherish like a common bond up on a planet.
Pretty simple beat though, right?
Penetration in the way that we can see.
Not even really programming drums and just adding breaks.
Therefore, give up control of the will. Courtship, roundtable meeting, negotiation statements with air molecules instead of paper. Pastors, boards, staffs, and sermons. People getting cut from a flock that burned them. President, Congress, money and elections, and top secret financial powers and selective. One for salvation that cuts down the center, strengthens the soul for the chaos that enters. If I was a Pied Piper, would you let me lead? Even if you weren't around, I'd take you to the sea. And if you ever made it to the ocean, would you drown? Or flex like you be the trump card of your town? If I was a Pied Piper, would you let me lead?
Yeah, I just triggered myself. Trump card. I shouldn't have even put that. What am I trying to say, dude? Anyways, that was when I was doing a solo record that I never released. I had a whole solo album called Maury Flovich. Everybody from the States, you guys remember Maury Povich, right? So I had an alter ego called Maury Flovich. I was gonna like Photoshop my face onto Maury Povich's face, and but I was gonna give it like a gospel hip hop twist, and it was gonna be called The Real Father Is. Man, I thought that junk was so dope. Maury Flovich and The Real Father Is. Anyways, so that era marked the beginning of me chopping like properly, because I got an MPC, and I got the MPC. I actually traded it for 10 beats off a pimp in Vegas. Man, there was like a grip of pimps from Oregon in Vegas around that time. I don't know if it's still like that, but man, it was like a whole crew. Like, man, there had to be like, I think I had like probably like 15 clients, like proper clients that were booking albums, and they were all pimps, and they were all from Oregon. It was crazy. Anyways, he traded me this MPC for 10 tracks. So I mean, just the sample alone is just like thin, dude. Now that I hear it, that would never fly today. Oh, spicy. This is like some purple soup. So this track was one of the 10 that I hooked up Game His Crew with. But again, it's just like, it wasn't really my style. Too clean. Hard track though. I licensed that later on, and 1 year I got my licensing checks back. It was like 06, and I was super broke, like super broke. I mean, I'm always super broke anyways, but I looked in the royalty printout and for all the licensing placements, and that track right there that I just played actually got played. It got selected by the Oprah show, and it got played like 8 times, dude, on Oprah. I think, yeah, I was like, what? Oprah doing some pimping? Anyways, so moving on, I want to go into really quickly into like the era that I think was like probably the most confusing era, and that like kind of led into what kind of where I settled as a producer, I think, and where I'll probably be for the rest of my life. I kept going, like I'd do some tracks I'd play, some tracks I'd sample, or make it sound like I'd sample. But I think the thing that eventually broke me altogether, like as far as like wanting to be all over the place, was when I finally like went through the whole process of doing a major label project for Sony Japan. In 2009 and 10, I got sucked into, I had different clients that came through at the studio in Vegas. And one of the crews that came through there, besides like the pimps, I did all kinds of random sessions. So I had, like a lot of pimp clients, but I had like rock people. And then this one crew came in, and they were like, yeah, dude, we're a boy band. And I was like, all right. And they were called Just Us, and then they ended up changing their name to Varsity, and then they changed their name to Varsity Fan Club, and then they got hooked up with this dude named Phoenix Stone, and this woman named Sybil Hall, and those people had worked with Lou Pearlman, who produced Backstreet Boys. They were looking to produce their next group. Least hip hop thing I've ever done. And a matter of fact, I completely regret it. But at the time, I'm like, dude, this is my chance to do this for a living, to produce for a living, and maybe it'll give me enough money that I can like go back and do like some proper hip hop stuff. But anyways, so around this time, I was just like doing tracks like all over the place, right? But long story short, it was a complete flop. But the business model was interesting because the whole idea of a crossover group eventually led to groups like BTS being successful. Not that I had one bit to do with that at all, but I'm gonna give you an idea of just how freaking ridiculously eclectic I was getting at this time. So here's a random rock track I was working on. Track for some reason makes me feel my Jewish roots more than normal. I'm like, wow, it's cool. I was trying to make the drums sound kind of live, but it was all just synthesizer, right? But then at the same time, I really like that key though. This is Caps, two-man trio. This is stuff I wanted to do. This track actually turned out cool though. The rock, straight up kind of more raw, like almost Alchemist style hip hop. Super poppy. Way there, Yo, this is like some. This is like some movie montage junk. You're training for that final fight. Sorry, man. I can't take it. So trebly. So I had one more era before I settled on what I would eventually go into, and that was and that kind of culminated in a battle of my sounds in what in an album that I ultimately I was not. I was like happy with, but not all the way happy with. And that's my Midlife Marauders solo album. So I had one thing, I had a few tracks where they were just way, way, way too epic. The biggest example of that is Rain. The idea was to be a hip hop opera of sorts, told a story. Eloquently deadly. Her chemical that was Props. In summer breeze dances. Who showed up at UPROCK. Let me warn you, she learned to grow thorns. That's protection from these predators. Also had Kaz Meta, who showed up at UPROCK. I think when I released this, they might have actually been beefing a little bit. Pretty awkward release. I'm like, all right. Why it hurts so good? She got demons to conquer. Step into her size 5s and try not to. Yeah, with that track, I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's released on Elect, and it turned out cool. But I think in retrospect, I realized like when you get too ambitious and you have you have kids, you have a family, you have a job, and you're mixing it and you're producing it and you're getting a whole bunch of people that like Christian MCs to turn in verses on time. And on topic, it just makes tracks take forever, dude. And so by the end of it, I had mixed it or been around it for so long that by the time it came down to the final mix, I like literally I was just like, dude, I don't even care. Please just get this track away from me. So like the first part of this track turns out cool, but there's a part 2. And in some systems, it's so trebly, dude. It just, let's see. And here's the one where I'll probably end off this talk on, even though I've done other stuff since then. But this is the one where originally this was going to be with a solo record that I was working on with Elias, which we never really finished. But we worked with his band, but we chopped it like a sample.
Oh, yeah.
We used live players.
1, 2.
I added other players and
check it out.
Chopped it into kind of more like a
You better
format.
choose your weapon and choose it well. To see the God or the devil, man,
Shout out to
heaven and
Elias,
hell.
man.
'Cause it dwell
Dude,
in a
Elias
place
is
where people
the homie,
just
man.
pop pills for cheap thrills. They thinking it's a deal. The devil got them laughing and chasing for dollar bills. I ain't gonna lie, I chase them too from time to time, but really I'm just out trying to find the everlasting. People on they
The
last
only thing
breath,
about this
they just
track
gasp.
that I learned
People
from
on
is
they
like
last checks, they just grasp.
too thin. I didn't have enough
They looking for answers.
bottom
From
end on
wars
the
to
kick.
deficits to
The
stock
track
market
was
crashes.
real.
We at the edge,
I don't know
precipice
why.
to disaster.
I
I used to work for money, now money's my master. I used to call the law,
didn't
but
tune
the
the
law
bass
will
right
harass
either.
ya. I come from the ghetto, so you know I'm a blaster. Better choose your weapon.
I think at the time I thought it made it sound
You better choose it well. It's either God or the devil.
Elias' voice sounds so right there.
You better choose your weapon. You better choose it well.
I actually borrowed those that mandolin and those horns from another track.
Yeah, syntax are terrific. Deep Space 5. My homeboy Elias and Sundance.
Yo, sorry, Syntax. Syntax's verse is so dope on that too. But anyways, I think by the end of the Midlife Marauders album, and this is where I'm going to end because I've probably taken up too much of your time anyways. But what I was going to say is, like, for me personally, I couldn't really play good enough to just get away with playing and releasing stuff and feeling super great about it. But then again, when I was chopping, like, it was cool, but I felt like the limitations, especially when it came to like change ups in the beat. Some people could just kill it with that, but I just never felt like that worked for me. So once I did Choose Your Weapon, and that was like 2014, I realized that getting tracings of like the ideas that I had and getting it into the hands of people that could actually play really was like the best of both worlds. I guess you have to, as a producer, you have to figure out your sound, right? You have to be like, okay. And again, like, it's not like an emergency. You just got to, but I think the idea that I want to get across today is like, that's probably where all the work is like figuring out what works the best for you. And I don't think there's any real substitute for just putting in the time to sort of like get that fleshed out. And for me, it took a long time. It took decades. Some people, like, again, like it's quicker because they're more decisive. And I think that was, something that I want you guys to learn from me is like, I think whatever you do, I think you should just try and focus on like a single sort of style, or at least technique, and really just make sure that that's done really, really well rather than constantly experimenting. Because I think experimenting is good, but sometimes it could just like, again, it could kind of just be it could be really like just selfish. Like you're doing it, it feels good for you, but you never really kind of figure out what you're trying to figure out. So anyways, yeah, that's that for me. I hope this has been somewhat informative. I hope in the next few years, I hope to actually make some more music again, because I would like to do one of these talks where I'm like, here's something I've done recently, as opposed to like, here's something I did in a time that's completely irrelevant that you don't care about. But anyways, much respect to all you guys. And one thing I want to say before I go, that's actually serious is, that's been on my mind, is that like with the world being like super chaotic right now, with like a lot of fear being put out there all the time, a lot of like echo chamber algorithm stuff that everybody gets caught up in. Don't forget who God is. God says, I am. And I think just don't forget that no matter what's going on, that we serve the great I am. It's not the I was, it's not the I'm going to be, it's the I am, meaning that no matter what's going on, God is. And if we serve God, then we are. And if we are, then whatever else is going on doesn't matter. It can't affect us unless we allow it to. So, in that creative process, guys, don't let it mess with you. Don't let it take away your power, which is, given to you through God, through Christ. With that, I'm going to bid you goodbye, and hope you guys do well and stay well, and hope to catch you in person soon. All right, peace.
Yeah, Sundance in the place. Big shout out to Sundance, great producer, doing stuff with Elect Recordings. He was one of our guests out here, UPROCK 2018. Instantly became a friend, a brother for life. It showed some mad support to us in a time where, it was a bit difficult, that one. But hey, he's a totally great brother. But I just want to pick up on something that he mentioned in there without going too much. Like I said, we want to talk about some broad concepts so even people who don't share that element can participate. But Jabs, just picking up on what he said there, what do you think about the thing of like being really good at one thing rather than constantly experimenting and trying to find stuff, like find your sound, or if it's graph, I guess, find your style or dance, without saying getting stuck in one place, just focusing on being really good at your lane. What do you think about that? Do you agree even?
I think it's important to look outside, yourself to try and find, and experiment with different things. But focus is a thing that you really need to look at in terms of if you're trying to spread yourself thin over way too many things. And I know as a rapper, there's other rappers here that often we've had a number of projects going at the same time that don't seem to really progress, and then you go years and years and you haven't put something out because you're like, oh yeah, I got this project, I'm waiting on with this person, this one with that person, this person. I think it's always important to try and just focus and just say, you know what, I'm getting this done right now. And that's, even at work, project-based, you need to focus on one thing at a time to just try and, get through it. Otherwise, you end up with a whole bunch of half-finished things. Now, in terms of I suppose, skill and working on that sort of thing, I've never been good at more than one thing before. Even Sundance, he's, he was really good at production, but he hasn't done that for 3 years yet. We still get him in for a production workshop. He's been focusing solely on surfing. So, at least he's just doing one thing at a time.
Right.
But, I think you do sort of... Well, there's been a big discussion today of, you try and put yourself into whatever you're doing. And I think the things that motivate you, the things that inspire you, there takes a bit of figuring out to do that. And then once they do all come together, it's about sort of figuring out what it is that you are best at. Sometimes, what I was saying before too with Prophet is you don't always know what you're best at. You know what you think you're best at. You know what you like to do the most. But other people around you might be able to give you that word to say, hey, you know what? I think you're actually better at this. Which is why I keep hosting things now instead of rapping at things. People stopped asking me to rap at things, and they were like, just host things. I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, so you speak about...
Interesting.
we have Oaks and Jabs. We happen to be radio hosts as well. Check out definitionradio.com, the best Christian hip-hop show in the world.
No one's told us to stop doing that.
Really, the best Christian hip-hop show in the world. We're only on once a month, but it's still a great show.
That's true.
Izzy's here. He's on there sometimes. And the Prophet and K-Man. Big shout-outs to K-Man. Anyway, so, I guess I totally get you in that sense. And as someone, I think from a Christian walk perspective too, like in my element and stuff, I'm even going to do a song about it a bit later in the concert, is just that focus, like you're saying, of focusing on the thing that you believe God's given you. But then also from a Christian walk perspective, biblically, in my life, there's been an understanding of seasons. And it's a very biblical concept of there is a season, we are in seasons, there is a season, time for this, and like it says in Ecclesiastes, you know, there's a different time for everything. And so I guess, yeah, like being willing to, in that season, what is this season God's leading me into now, and let me focus on that. And I'm hoping that that can be a blessing to you all. Big shouts to Sundance again, and to everyone who's been online. You know, in the chat's going gangbusters. There's a Zoom happening as well. The guys in here are, you know, hanging out, drawing and stuff. I'm sure at Central Coast.
We've got a craft area going on over there. They're doing some craft.
Want to send a shout out to all the Crosswords Queensland guys who are together there, to Reboz and Pity and the whole crew. Don't cough on my section, bro. And also COVID safe, yeah. But yeah, shout out to everyone else who's watching around wherever you might be. And hey, the link that you received to get on the live stream, just share it with friends. Just send it around to everyone. We want everyone to be involved. The whole registration thing was free anyway. So we're going to have a concert around 2:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, whatever that time is where you are. Hang around for that. But what we're going to do right now, before we cross over to the Philippines for the next workshop, before we do that, we're going to have a tour of the spot. So if you have been to Sydney for UPROCK before, like I mentioned before, oh yeah, sorry, we're going to do a shout out first, and then we're going to do that. But let's throw to another shout out, and here we go. My bad.
West Crosswords, LA. It's Propaganda here. Just want to send a huge, ginormous, crazy mad love to the homies at Crossword 10-year anniversary. One of the greatest times of my life, one of the funnest moments I've had. Y'all showed me an amazing time. This is one of the dopest things out there, period. Love y'all. Wish I could be there. Wish any of us could be there. But happy 10th anniversary, y'all.
Yeah, Propaganda was out here in 2013. Now, let me address the elephant in the room right now. Sundance made a mention. There was a bit of a... We are very much in Crosswords and UPROCK about building community all around the world. There have been a few... Once in particular, there was a bit of a disagreement and a bit of, you know, bit of back and forth. But hey, we made it fine. Everyone is all love now. And
Izzy's ears just spiked up as soon as the mention of beef happened. He's like, yeah?
No, there wasn't beef. There wasn't beef.
No
what
beef.
I'm saying is
No beef.
there was misunderstandings. We love everyone still involved, and we are so grateful to have maintained friendships with all the people who've come out for UPROCK. And a lot of the shout-outs you'll see today are people who've come out over the years. Like I said, Prop was out in 2013. Rhino, who was on before, was out in 2013. Sons in 2014 and stuff like that. Now, let's do that thing we were saying. So if you've been to UPROCK before here in Sydney, it's at the Embassy Church. It hosts us. They lend the building. Crosswords is international ministry. And we have churches in local areas that support the Crosswords that's in that area. In Crosswords Sydney, Embassy is our biggest supporter. I'm part of the church as well, so big thanks to Embassy Church, Pastor Ken, Pastor Mandy. Yeah, but we're going to have a cruise around the building. So if you look behind me here, we've obviously got the backdrop that Mystery's done, the lion and the lamb, you can see, and Mystery, one of the world's leading graffiti artists in the world. We happen to be a blessing to be the leader of our movement here in Crosswords. And so we get to have this as our church background every Sunday, really. And he changes it every year, which is dope. Then now if we go towards the right over there, we'll see that he's...
Over
Jabs,
here.
what are we seeing here, Jab?
Well, this is you know, bringing hip hop and the church together, where he's just stolen these pews from a church, and he's just basically just graphed them up, so they're not getting those back. And just sit. Yep.
And of course,
very uncomfortable.
Our 2020 UPROCK
Unbelievable.
character. There's a new character every year. This is Sebastian, everyone.
Sebastian. Why is he called Sebastian?
We don't know. Holding an MTN can. Shout out to Montana, who supported Crosswords for many years as well.
I'm just imagining sitting on this pew during a really long sermon.
All right, how about we cross over to the chapel?
Let's go.
So everyone, let's follow Jabs. Jabs is going to take us on a tour.
This is Embassy Cribs.
Embassy Cribs. And that big cast iron cross that everyone loves too, man. Such a... Oh, here's the Sydney crew. COVID safe, social distance.
Craft corner.
All right,
Ooh,
let's
it is
get
hot
into
in here.
some...
Rookies and legends.
Yep.
It's up to you to see what category I fit into.
So if you were at
Come this way.
UPROCK 2012...
Look at these. I actually haven't seen these before. This is stained glass windows.
Yeah.
Beautiful. In the beginning.
It's the whole story of creation and mysteries made into stained glass windows, basically.
Stained glass windows. How's the light in there for that?
Beautiful, beautiful. So if you were here at UPROCK in 2012, 2013, maybe even 2014, we would have been in that room, not the room that we're in now.
Check
things
that
would have
out.
evolved over the years.
Now, I didn't have it confirmed, but I'm going to say that's Mystery's work. It looks a lot like it. If it's not his work, then someone is ripping him off in his own church.
It is Mystery's work.
Unbelievable.
He can't hear me right now.
It is?
It is. Oh, you can.
Okay, I can't actually hear you back, but I'm just going to talk my thing.
Let's go outside.
Also,
Let's go outside.
Greenery. Lovely.
Yeah.
This work here, I don't believe that's Mystery's work, but he could only aspire to have as neat handwriting as that.
Let's go outside, Jabs.
Couldn't we all? We're heading outside now. Oh, man, it is hot here.
40 degrees Celsius for those who know.
Okay, all right, we're going around here. Now, this is a piece that Holly, aka Fluoro, did. Was that last year or the year before?
No,
It
it's
was
around
last
the
year,
side.
last
Oh, there
year.
it is, yep.
Sunday Fun Day, which
20
is very nice. Oh, look, there's Izzy. What are you doing here, mate?
2018,
It's way too hot out here for you.
And if you get a shot of
that's
that
a
black car...
beautiful piece. Very much in her stylings, which everything she writes just looks amazing. She could probably do some of the craft inside there, just like you guys. Show you a thing or two. Obviously the Embassy logo up there, in the style of eternity. Props to Arthur Stace.
Yeah.
And now this piece, my favourite piece. This was from, oh gosh, I want to say maybe like 3 years ago, maybe 4. Sure, Oaks will confirm. Overflow. This was
2017.
done by, oh man, all sorts of
Gospel Graffiti
goofballs.
crew. We had a
Phasm
bunch
was
of the
here.
guys, yep.
Who else? Names are failing me right now.
Camera One, Joax.
What's his name? Camera One.
Gath
was involved in this. There was a whole group of them. Overflow.
Jeff.
Beautiful piece. I've taken many photos alongside this. It's slightly fading. We might need to get them all back just to redo it. But I mean, this was sort of a collaboration between a whole bunch of writers who came out that year. And it was good fun. And it was not this hot out here while they were doing it.
All right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Let's get it back inside.
Now I believe I'm going to take you right back through the embassy and we're going to go and check out the bathrooms, which have been tagged up.
All right, Jabs. I assume you can hear me now.
Man, it's hot out there.
That was 2017. That piece. A lot of the Gospel Graffiti crew.
So did you lose me?
No, we got you the whole time. We heard all your funny
okay,
ramblings.
cool. So we're going to follow Izzy to the bathroom. He's going to show us all the areas that he's
No,
tagged in there.
we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that?
We're not going to do that.
Okay, that's where the best art is. Is there anything out the back?
Nah, let's go back
Okay.
to the stage.
You go create more craft out the back there, Izzy. We'll leave you to it. That's where he does his best work.
There is still remnants of a lot of the graph pieces around the building too that we've had at the park jams and things like that. So, hey, thanks for joining us on that tour. What we're going to do now is cross over to the Philippines. We got our homegirl there, Vanessa from Team Vibe in the Philippines. We're going to get Echo to come up and introduce what's happening in this next section. Everybody, come on, it's fine. This is Echo. What up?
Come on.
Hey, check. Yep. Oh, cool. I'm on camera. Wow. Yeah. Hey. So Vanessa from Team Vibe is with us. So I have the pleasure of introducing our first dance workshop of the summit. And so this workshop is run by Vanessa from Team Vibe, and these guys come from the Philippines. Team Vibe are a dance crew from the Philippines, and in 2014, their director, Melvin, he came and visited us as the UPROCK guest at the time. Later, a few people, myself, Mystery, and Mervin from Malaysia, we got to visit the Philippines and meet the rest of their crew. So Team Vibe, they teach and perform full-time as a crew, and they openly express their faith through their dance. And so, Vanessa, I'm just going to get out of the way so that you can run your workshop, because I know you have something special planned. So Vanessa, take full control and let's get it going.
Right. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Vanessa from Team Vibe. Really excited to meet new people. So today I'll be teaching Identity in Christ and a choreography based on acts. All right. Okay. So before that, we're just gonna do warm up. We'll warm up and they'll sweat it out. Okay. The music.
Gusto mo kailangan ng
No, there is no sharing. Okay. Okay, now we're just gonna move our hips to the side. Let's do the wine and inside, alright? Okay. And hips and hips and hips. Alright, okay, let's try to isolate and front and back and front and back. Okay, now we're gonna do rotation. Our hips. Rotation. Hips. Okay, so for the boys, we'll try to make it more girl like this. So try to isolate with your hips. Okay, so a bit line and line. And just make a circular form with your hips. Alright, try to isolate it. Okay? Alright, good. Okay, now let me see with our feet. Alright, and march. Okay. Okay. There you go. Okay. Let's try to move our leg, okay, to the side. Let's try to make it just 2 steps, okay? And 2 steps. And 2 steps. And 2 steps. Alright. And side. Okay, and 2 steps. Alright, now let's try using our hips. First, going there. To the side. Alright, can we do that? And side. And side. And side. Alright, now we're gonna do it a bit of tempo. Boom. Alright, is everyone getting it? Okay. Alright, do it again. Side and hips. And side using your hips. Put out your hips like this. And there. Alright. Okay. And side. And side. Let's try going forward. To back. 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 Alright. Okay, let's do it again. And side. Side. Okay. This one. Alright. Okay, let's do the lat out, out, and in. and in, out, and in, and out, and in. Alright, and out, and in. Okay, we're just gonna do that, but now with our hips. Alright? Hips, hips, hips. Hips out, hips out, hips out. Okay, bit faster. Okay, can we do that? Tapping, tap, any tap, 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 tap. Alright? So we're doing that, we go step out, step out, step out. Alright. Step up, step up, step out, tap, 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 tap. Alright? Okay. Then, let's try reducing our hips. We go down. Let's do through. Hips going down. Hips going down. Okay, let's do that. Alright. And down. And then down. And then down. And then down. Okay? Let's try a bit faster. Alright. Using your hips. 5, 6, 7, and then down. Hips. 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 Alright? And hips, 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 hips. You're pushing your hips like this. Hips, hips, going down. Alright? Okay? Alright, now let's gonna move our shoulders up and down. 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 Okay, let's try to isolate it, alright? Up, down, up, up, down. Down, down, up, down.
Okay, hi everyone.
Up, down. Forward.
Sorry, I had a
Forward.
problem earlier.
And forward.
Welcome to
forward.
class. This is my
And forward.
studio.
And forward. And forward.
So
And
I have
forward.
been, is everyone here from Malaysia?
You got it? Alright.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it the whole time.
How about from
Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you see that? I don't know if it's my camera is really that clear, but okay. Can you do this? And do that shoulder, alright? Shoulder and back. And shoulder
Just a little
and
shoulder.
back.
I've been to Malaysia
And shoulder and back. And shoulder and back. Alright, you do it faster. 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 Alright. More. Good. Double time. Alright. Okay. Everyone got it? Okay. Good. Now we're gonna do our waves.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a little bit to my studio before we head on to my class. So this is our section area.
Move our hips.
And from here I have someone teaching. Vanessa teaching in Australia.
And down.
As you know, we are
Hips up. Alright, so we're gonna do our waves, alright? Okay, so head, chest, stomach, and down. Alright, so we're gonna go over with that body parts, alright? So from our head, when you move your chest, put back your head to the right position, right center, and then stomach, and just sit down. Okay, if you find it difficult to do waves, or yeah, if you're going to do body waves, just try this exercise. So try first isolation with your head, with your chest, stomach, and then sit down. Alright? Okay, do it again. Head, stomach, chest, sit down. Now this time, you're gonna connect that 4 spots, okay? That 4 points, okay? So all the way, no stopping, and sit down. Same going up, just gonna push your hips up, right there. Alright, so if you find it difficult doing body waves, do that drill. Same with the other side. Sit down. Just push your hips up. Alright, okay. And body waves. And down. Push your hips up. Okay. And one body wave and down. Push your hips up. Good. Okay. Other side and go down. And wave. And down. Push up. Alright. And wave. And down. So whatever direction could that be? It could be front and up and side and push up. Say up and so when guys do the waves, you don't have to be more like all through down. You could this should be controlled. That should be controlled, right? Same here. Yeah. Could be like that. Or for girls, could be bigger waves. Up. Alright? So I think you're doing that. Good job with the waving. So try to explore, try to experiment. Alright, okay. Up with our hips. Go around with your hips. Go around. Just give some. Yeah, there you go. And circle. And circle. And circle. And a shake. And a shake. And a shake. And a shake. Alright. Okay. Alright, that's it for my class. No, I'm kidding. So my class is titled Identity in Christ. So I will not preach actually, but I'm just gonna share my story how I found my identity in Christ through my purpose, through my calling. Yeah. So while I'm doing my choreography, I'll be sharing of my story, how I found my calling, how I found my identity. All right. Okay. So before I start my choreography, I want you to imagine the best scenery that you want to go to, the best scenery that you want to go to, like the mountain, bed of tulips. I don't know. That's for me. It's the greatest or the most beautiful thing I could see, or I want to see. I haven't seen that. Or maybe a river, beautiful mountains in the Philippines, the beaches, the sea, the ocean. So think of that. Think of the most or your favorite scenery or favorite, nature in this whole world. Okay, could be in Sydney, could be in Canada. I don't know, or for example, lakes in Canada. All right. Okay. You ready? You ready to think of that? You ready in your mind? You ready in your mind? All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So you already had in your mind? Ready had in your mind. Okay. So think of that. Think of that as a beautiful creation of God, and then how it was beautifully and or perfectly made by our God. Okay. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really perfect. Perfectly imagined, perfectly made. Okay. So how about us? How about us people? As me, as Vanessa, or as you, created one, no one, created as the most important creature in this whole world. How much more He put in you? Yeah, does it make any sense? Does it make any sense for you? Okay, for me, that's a lot of sense. I believe that God put something in me to change this kind of world, to break barriers, to reach out to people, to minister to people, and I believe this is my calling. Okay, so when I was 13 years old, amazingly, I haven't really found the details, but I believe and I made my promise to God that I'm gonna dance for Him forever. All right, that's my commitment. So I'm 27 right now, so I've been fulfilling that promise. 14 years. Okay, do the math. All right. Okay. First, before we start, this is my choreo. So my choreo is about appreciating God, the works of God in your life. All right. Okay. So it's luku luku. All right. So the first is we go look, step back, and then make a wave. All right. Okay. All right. 5, 6, 7, and look in your wave and make a head. Tap tap. You're gonna read some. You're gonna hear something like that. All right. 5, 6, 7, and tap ha. Look in the eyes and ha ha. All right. You got it. And then we're gonna step back. Step back. Slide to the back. And then me. There's me. And then tap tap. And then just make a butterfly. This is a butterfly vocabulary. Butterfly. Alright, that's a butterfly. Okay. So 5, 6, 7, and look in ha, wave, ta ta, and then go back, and then me, and ta ta, and then butterfly. Alright, look in the eye. Okay, alright, 5, 6, 7, and a boom. Ha, wave, ha ha, and slide. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Okay, did you got it? Everybody, let's try one more. 5, 6, 7, and a boom. Looking high, ha ha, wave, and up, cha cha ha. Now this time we're gonna ball change, going to to my right. Maybe in the video, it's not mirrored, so this one I'm going to my right. Okay, we're gonna ball change, and then make a wave up and hips down. That's why I told you, like Michael Jackson. Alright? Okay. Alright, let's do it again. From butterfly. Begin from butterfly. We'll change. And then up. Ha, ha. And then we're gonna step out. Step out and then make a heel toe. Alright, this looks like, this one looks like the heel toe. Right, so here, heel toe is toe, heel. Alright? Does it look like? Okay, so toes, toe, heel, toe, heel. Alright. For some, you could put some hips on it, but this one's kind of more difficult, so you could put your hips. Do the wine, alright? Okay. See? There you go. Alright. So first, we have boom from top 5, 6, 7, and boom. Look at the eyes and head to the side and make a shoulder and up, knees and butterfly and we'll change. Look up and ha ha. step out, and then heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. All right. Let me get up with the music. Okay, let's try with the music. I hope you can hear. All right, it says. Look.
My God is good. As you can see everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Taste and see.
There you go. So the first 2/8 looks like you're telling your audience to look at you, how God gave you, how God made your life beautiful, something like that. Look at me, look at me, look at me, something like that. All right, okay, all right, and then go. Let's try with the music. Let's try it. Hope you can hear it. All right. And slide.
My God is good. As you can see.
All right.
Everybody.
Okay, one more. Let's try it again. Okay, the faster.
My God is good. As you can see.
All right.
Everybody. Taste and see.
So it goes. Look, ha, ha. Look at me, ta, ta, ha. And then you go, full change. God is good, ha, ha. And then do the heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Okay, all right. Let's try it again. Let's try it one more. 5, 6, 7, and boom. Look, ha, and boom. Look at me, ha, ha, ha. We'll change. Weight up, hips, and do the step out and heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. All right, let's do the music. I hope you can hear the music. All right. And
Look at me. My God is good. As you can see.
all right. Okay, good. I think you're getting it. Okay. Just feel free to message me if you want to ask something with the choreo. All right. All right. Let's try one more and then it. Okay. 5, 6, 7, and look, ha. Look at me. Knees and the butterfly. We'll change. Go up. Ha, ha. Step out. And then make the heel toe. Look at see. Then you can hear it. Okay. So it goes. Ha. Alright. Kaya medyo napa. Alright. Alright. Okay. So it goes. Boom. Look, ha, and slide. Look at me. Sneeze and butterfly. We'll change. And you go up. Hips up. And then you step out. And then heel toe. And then you can hear you go Alright? Okay, so you're gonna wave to your left, right, and up, and then ha, ha. Okay, you got it? All right. Okay, I'm too bright. I'm too bright. All right. Okay. Let's do it again. 5, 6, 7, and a boom. Look, ha, ha, and wave. Look at me, ta, ta, ta. I'm good. My God is good. As you can see, ha, ha, ha. Okay. All right. From there, I'll show you my feet. My feet look like this one. Right? Everybody. You're just like sweeping something dust on the floor. So everybody. All right. Okay. Very good. So let's try it one more from everybody. And then you're gonna make a wave going up from here. So you're sitting down here, push your hips, wave, and then taste and see. Ha. All right. Did everyone got it? Okay. So this one looks like shoulders, 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 shoulders. So taste and see. So pretty good. So everybody wave and up. Taste. Start with your left hand. Taste and see and hips. Okay. In Afro dance, this one is azonto. You're gonna go move your hips like this and then switch. Azonto. Okay. So we're gonna do 2 times and then we're gonna link our feet. Okay. This is what you did in the song. It is victory. Okay. All right. 5, 6, 7, and let's try from 5, 6, 7, and everybody wave up, taste, taste and see, up, azonto, up and up. Then you go, my God gave to me. Okay. Shoki, shoki, okay? Right. So this one is like your offering. What God gave you, like God gave to me, okay? So my God, and then you go wave, 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 wave. Okay? So you're gonna twist, 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 twist. Wave, 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 wave. Alright? Think everyone got it? Okay. Alright. Okay, 5, 6, 7, and boom. Look, ha, ha, and wave. Look at me, twist and boom. My eyes good, the God is good. Ha, ha, ha. As you can see, and then you make a wave. Everybody hips up, wave, face and see, and horizontal, victory, and then my God. You're gonna both change, step to the left. Then from here, put down your right, put down your right, both change. Your left now is in front, okay? Your left. And then you're my God, and say, my God gave to me. Alright? Okay. Let's do it with the music. Alright. A bit fast. Okay,
My God is good, as you can see, everybody taste and see the victory. My God is giving me.
Alright. Okay. Will I hope I could send a video so that everyone could see it clearly. Alright, okay. Let's do it again one more time. Everybody, taste and see the victory my God is giving me. Alright. Okay. Alright. Alright. Go get a water and then yeah. Let's have some water break. Oh, I was okay. Alright.
Yo, yo.
Victory, my God is giving me everything. So I'm really loving this song.
Yo,
Look at
yo.
me, my God is good. As you can see, right? So it's like being the light. There are so when you say identity in Christ, it means that it's the only one who gave you life has the authority to identify you. So we usually nowadays, in our generation or something, they've been shackled. I don't know what that means, but like they've been tied up into their past, their failure, their behavior, their struggles, their feelings. All right, this one it's used to be the song for me. It's by celebrating your identity in Christ. Like it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's like what's saying like the victory. You've already conquered everything, and it's just that the enemy wants to twist your identity. He wants to remind you what you've done, what you did, the wrongdoings and stuff, and he just wants you to. The enemy doesn't want to know your identity by himself. Um, he tries to block your calling. He tries to stop what you're made to do. So for me, I love to celebrate who am I. I love to celebrate God gave us already the victory. It's already done. And if you want to know yourself, you have to get to know him first. Yeah? So I hope everyone made sense. I hope everyone enjoyed. And
Yeah.
feel free to message me to know the full content of that video. I have lots of cities up until the chorus, so but due the time, it's okay. I hope we can connect soon, meet you personally. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for inviting. Thank you for
Can you hear me,
inviting me,
Vanessa?
everyone. Yeah,
Can
I
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
It's Mars. How are
Yes.
you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm good.
We had good times. We met Team Vibe in Malaysia actually when we went out there for a conference back in when was that? 2013, I think. But
Yeah, the homestay crew.
yeah, the homestay crew. We all stayed together, connected with Melvin
Hi,
and
Marcelo.
Melvin and Vanessa, and it's great to have you with us again. Thank you for sharing today. God bless you guys
Thank you for inviting me. Hope
and
to see you
everything.
guys soon.
Yeah, come to Australia. Come and see us. Yo, the crew. What up? Philippines
Thank
represent.
you, everyone.
Thank you for being with
Yeah.
us. See you later.
See
Peace.
you.
God bless. The crew from the Philippines, Team Vibe, Melvin and the crew. Big ups to Vanessa for sharing with us there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually have a break. We got Little Mystery running around, running rampant basically around here, running the show. Wants to be a drummer. We're going to have a break, a little bit of a break here. Now, the UPROCK Concert 2020 is going to start at 2:30 p.m. Sydney time. So if you need to gather what that equivalent is in your time, then just jump on Google and get the world, or on your iPhone, get the world clock. So 2:30 p.m. Sydney time, we're going to be back at the UPROCK Concert. Which is in about an hour, or yeah, just under an hour, about 50 minutes. We got Randy Mason, we got Direct, we got some local Sydney artists performing. We got Monks, Lycon, Enforce from Adelaide, Mark Dirksen from Canada. We got the launch, the global launch of the Jesus Peace Graffiti Project, which is going to blow your mind, which Mystery has put together with graph writers from all around the world. Trust me, you got to be here for that. That's going to be amazing. Global launch from this guy's dad and the graph writers. He's just running the stage. That's it, man. Get that stage moving. Be a real MC. Don't just stand in one spot. That's the thing. We got a whole bunch of other artists too. We got Kaz. We got, oh man, we got so much happening in the concert. And then after, we're going to have an evening session of workshops again. But 2:30 Sydney time, we have the UPROCK Concert 2020. Make sure you come back. In the meantime, we're just going to chill. Some of us here are going to have lunch. You know what? We're going to jump on, play some tracks. And yeah, so peace. Be back soon. Jump in the chat. Get the details on the Zoom. Invite your friends. Share the link for the UPROCK Concert, 2:30 Sydney time. So whatever that time is where you are, fantastic. So that'll be about East Coast, North America. That'd be about, huh? No, that's about, yeah. Yeah, 7. Yeah, so it'll be almost midnight for them. No, almost. 10 p.m. All right, let's go with that. All right, peace. Let's play some tracks. Is this on? This is on. Oh, it's not.
My name is Ryland Jr.
Can you all hear that? All right, we're going to get into some of this stuff. 2:30 p.m. we are back.
The word of God says that I am victorious in Christ. In him, no matter the fight, I stay winning. I'm never going to lose. Check, it go. Victorious. Now when I say I win, it is more than just a game I'm playing in, because he is glorious. Pay the wages of our sin. Our obedience to him is what it's costing us. His way of thinking is much more than us. Like comparing a tsunami to a puddle. Christ, my Lord, he took stripes, then they took life, then he took flight. Now he's seated on the right. Look, he went ahead of me, fighting my enemies. All things through him, he who will strengthen me. Tribulation come, I take heart and let it be. Show it to my pop, he be like, me yo, Ben Aki. Apparently my Lord be speaking other languages. His way, I'm scot-free, no suffering damages. No time for deal with, no underhandedness. Had to give my life to him, please understand it's his. No longer mine, not a borderline. Gave it completely all to him. Feeling more than fine, stay winning. Up in Hollywood, or the Rollins hood, screaming God is surely good all the time. Y'all don't hear me now. No matter I'ma share it out. It's gonna have to take a lot of them to carry out and plot and evil scheme when they don't see my daddy cares about his children who are living with the willingness to brag about the goodness of the Lord.